welcome you to college football prime time in Orlando at the one-year-old Bright House Network Stadium on the campus of Central Florida. Tonight, the 17th-ranked South Florida Bulls look to stay perfect in their series with Central Florida. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Tessitore, and I welcome you to college football primetime. These teams have only played 3 times, but yet it feels like a rivalry. At least one team feels that way. Central Florida thinks this is a perfect fit this series. South Florida wants to move on, but they left behind some bulletin board material after the 64-12 win a year ago. Quarterback Matt Grothe said, "We weren't trying to run up the score. We were that much better than them." Let me bring in my partner, Rod Gilmore. So Grothe, with his mouth, fires off the first shot here of this battle. He'll do a lot of damage both with his arm, though, and with his legs. When you look at the quarterback comparison, many say there's no comparison.
Well, and Matt Grothe can talk because he's done it. He's a third-year starter, and as you mentioned, he throws the ball very accurately, but what he does best is run with the football. On the other side, Michael Greco had his first start last week. He's a transfer from North Carolina State and a junior college, and he's been inconsistent. Now, we have another matchup that's probably going to be better than that one, and this matchup starts today and continues in the NFL. George Selvey against Pat Brown. Selvey is the Big East Defensive Player of the Year and maybe the best pass rusher in college football. Was an All-American last season. Pat Brown, he's only started 30. This is 39th start. The most experienced college football tackle around. Good matchup. Looking forward to seeing how it impacts the game today.
There is George O'Leary, well-respected and well-traveled, the veteran, his 5th season at Central Florida. And Jim Leavitt, the only coach in the 12-year history of South Florida football. Remarkable rise up the ladder of college football for the Bulls. Remember, this team rose all the way up to number 2 in the rankings last year, and for the first time, they were ranked in the preseason polls, and Rod, sitting atop the Big East along with West Virginia. South Florida is as legit a BCS hunting team as anyone.
Maybe more so than just legit. You talk about West Virginia having trouble with East Carolina today. South Florida may, if they hold on and do well tonight, they may come out of the weekend as being the premier team in the Big East.
Justin Tichy will tee it up for South Florida as they have deferred, and back deep for Central Florida, Darren Baldwin and the very speedy Joe Burnett. Burnett unable to get to his own 20. 18-yard return. And Central Florida is hoping to have steady play at quarterback. That has been the concern with Michael Greco, a junior from Fort Lauderdale.
Well, admittedly, they were conservative last week, but he was inconsistent. Sometimes scooting out of the pocket before he needed to, sometimes throwing a good ball, and sometimes throwing a poor ball.
He's in the backfield with Ronnie Weaver. They commit to the run often. Here's Greco. And Greco able to get it to Waters. Brian Waters. So a good start for Central Florida. Greco at 57 yards rushing and just 90 yards throwing last week.
You see the offense for Central Florida at the top of the screen. A good offense. They like to pound the ball. They don't really throw it that often.
Running to the near side. And Weaver comes up just a bit short there.
You know, test that offense.
Late flag comes in, Rob.
Yeah, very late. That offense is experienced with the offensive line.
After the play was over. Personal foul, number 80, offense. Half the distance to the goal line, 3rd down.
That's against receiver Sidney Haynes. You can see the defense for the South Florida Bulls scrolling at the top of your screen.
And that is a defense that was very aggressive last year. Number 1 in takeaways with 42. They lost 2 outstanding cornerbacks, which might affect the amount of time that they feel comfortable blitzing. since they were such great man-to-man cover guys last year. But this defense, really aggressive. They play fast, very fast.
So it goes from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 16. You see that 40-second play clock counting down on Greco. 3 receivers to the top. Greco flush from the pocket. And Jerome Murphy coming up to make the tackle from his corner position.
Well, look at the right side of your screen. You see Selvey, the matchup we talked about. You see his speed, how he forced Greco to come out of the pocket, and right away you saw 2 guys trying to deal with George Selvey.
So Blake Klingon punting from his 2-yard line. Marcus Edwards back deep for the Bulls. Calls for the fair catch, and he brings it in at the 41-yard line. 43-yard punt. And the Bulls offense led by junior Matt Grothe. He goes 6 foot 205, but that's 20 pounds lighter than he was in spring ball when he packed on the weight, thinking it would help him with his durability running the ball.
Well, you know, he got banged up at the end of his freshman year, got banged up some last year, and thought it made sense for him to pack on a little weight. And they said, no, that's hurting you. Be quick. Lose the weight. He lost it. He's ready to go.
Grothe sprinting to the left. And he has it complete to A.J. Love. And Love brings it to midfield. You see the offensive starters listed across the top of your screen. An offense that will rely a lot on Grothe's ability to run the ball.
Well, absolutely. That offense has 10 guys back from last season. They like power running inside, and they will do that with Grothe. He will look like a running back, not a quarterback that just scrambles. They will design runs for him.
They run it to the near side. And Mo Plancher with a big gainer, finally taken down by Joe Burnett, but a 27-yard gainer for the Bulls.
Yeah, and they did some nice work blocking on those linebackers for Central Florida. You see the defense scrolling atop the screen. They have 2 linebackers that are relatively new. They're 2 veterans, Corey Hogue and Derek Hallman, might play today, but they've had some injuries, so they haven't started this ball game.
Empty backfield, 4 by 1. Look at that diamond formation of receivers to the top of your screen for South Florida. Grothe going to keep it himself. Unable to get to the edge was Grothe as John L. Neal came up and made the play. Let's look at the impact players, Rod.
Well, you talk about the offense. Jesse Hester, wide receiver, makes clutch catches for this team. And then you look at big play guys. Taurus Johnson, he gets yards after he makes a catch. A really big player for them. And in the backfield, Ben Williams, an all-around guy, great blocker, great catching passes. He'll be relied upon today with Mr. Ford, Mike Ford, probably out today.
Plenty of time for Grothe. And with it, he completes it again to Love, and Love is inside the 15-yard line.
Look at the impact players for the Central Florida defense, and it starts outside with Joe Burnett, a great punt returner, but an outstanding corner. He's on the Thorpe Award list. And Jason Benson, the free safety, he is the leader back there, does a great job. They're big inside with Harold Troop, 300-plus pounder, who stops the run inside.
Full backfield for the Bulls. Plancher able to spin loose and surges into the end zone. A 15-yard touchdown run from Plancher.
Well, Central Florida did a nice job. Push inside. Nice job in front by Troop, but no leverage on the outside. That's Sharif Rashad, who was outside number 29 and got caught inside, and that allowed Plancher to get outside for the touchdown.
Delbert Alvarado on for the extra point. A bullish start here in Orlando for South Florida. Mo Plancher, 2 big runs on that drive. The last one something special. South Florida up, a touchdown in Orlando.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Thompson's Water Seal, the most powerful protection against water damage, guaranteed. And New Degree Men Absolute Protection.
Mo Blanchard strikes first for South Florida. Central Florida's defense came into this posting their first shutout since 2001 last week, but they had a tough time with that offensive attack from the Bulls. Tichy. Back deep is Joe Burnett. Burnett catches a seam. Joe Burnett with a blocker in front. Burnett. How about that? Right back at it. 91 yards. Penalty declined, touchdown stands up. Joe Burnett, the starting cornerback, who's a first-teamer in Conference USA, both as a defensive back and as a punt returner, shows you why they rave about his athleticism.
Wow, he electrified this crowd.
Nick Patoy, up and good. So South Florida does it the conventional way, and Central Florida comes back with this. Joe Burnett, 91-yard return. It is on. The last time, maybe for a long time, these two will meet up. They're shaking the Bright House Network Stadium here. Central Florida faithful, they wanted to see this rivalry flourish between Central Florida and South Florida. South Florida says they're off to bigger and better things, but Central Florida wants to give them a little something on the way out the door.
After 64-12 last season, can you blame Central Florida for being a little bit amped up for this one?
Horace Johnson. Not a bad return for him. 25-yarder, but nothing like what we just saw, Rod.
Yeah, look at the blocking here. Watch these three guys. What you're going to get, you're going to get nice crossing here and crossing there. Watch what happens and how this thing opens up. And when you have a returner like Burnett, it just works perfectly. Right now, he's got a huge lane, and a guy like that needs only to make one move to make it go, and that kicker has no shot at all against him right now. Look at him get out there. That's Burnett with great speed.
And a penalty here on the South Florida return that we just saw. The first player in the history of this program to return a kick and a punt for a score, Joe Burnett. They are very talented in their defensive backfield as Central Florida, and Burnett adds a whole nother dimension on special teams.
If I'm South Florida, I want to check his wind right now and come right back out and attack him. I mean, 91 yards just a minute ago. He's got to be a little winded, right?
He's out there defensively. Let's see if they test it. Inside handoff goes to Taylor. Excuse me, Grothy.
And they use Grothy like a running back. And that's just a power play. And he becomes another running back. Last year, 100 yards rushing, pretty decent in the air. And he was the difference. A lot of those runs came on second and long, third down, just to break Central Florida's back last season. 64-12.
Had a very easy day last week against the overmatched UT Martin. And they're going to talk things over here as the junior quarterback calls a timeout. Jim Leavitt And the South Florida Bulls, already ranked 17th. Not going to surprise anybody this year. Well hyped, tied up here in Orlando.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Chrysler. The way our vehicles come together is what sets us apart. And DiGiorno, for delivery taste without the delivery price, it's DiGiorno.
The stadium and arena here at Central Florida. Huge university, 45,000 strong. And they love their Knights. And they love nothing more than to get an upset win against 17th ranked in-state rival South Florida. Taylor on 2nd and 4. Looks like he picks up 5 and a first down.
Well, let's take a look at what we know about this offense for South Florida and their defense, actually. Did a little research on these guys, and their offense is really at its best when Grothe runs the football. And they averaged over 6 yards a carry last season on design runs. And when they're on defense, it's all about Selvey getting into the backfield. 31.5 tackles for losses last season, 14.5 sacks.
There's in formation. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Penalty on the formation is South Florida, so it'll bring him back, but it still is a first down. I got visions of you in like a lab coat, doing some chemistry there, your research.
Yeah, but I'm not
California during the week before you join us.
Yeah, but I'm not by myself once we get on the road. I mean, you guys are there watching tape with me and everything. We're figuring it all out, breaking it down.
1st and 15. Grothe out of the gun. Taylor breaks the tackle. And a yard further than what was the original line of scrimmage before the penalty. He was taken down by Jason Benson, starting free safety for the Knights.
That defense relies on that secondary. 4 veteran players back there. Each of those starters in their 4th year as starters.
Jamar Taylor stays in as the lone back. Mike Ford, who's a superstar in the making, a sophomore, very athletic. He was injured this week, so Taylor getting some work. Here's Grothe now. Rolls out, and that is incomplete. It was intended for Cedric Hill.
Well, and the key for Central Florida is making sure that Mr. Grothe stays in the pocket. On a rollout like this, he's very dangerous. You want to make sure you contain him. And that's exactly what they do. They keep him back there where he can't get too far outside and cause trouble. It's tough for the tight end Hill to come up with that one.
2 receivers to each side here on 3rd and 10. Line to make is the 36 for Grothe. Lots of time, and is complete over the middle. And good for a first down.
His pass is hauled in by Taurus Johnson.
Taurus Johnson with a pickup of 16.
First down USF.
So Grothe able to move the chains.
Oh, Johnson is working against the zone. Plenty of protection, so there's lots of time for Johnson to run by the linebackers and find an open space. No pressure on Grothe at all, and so that allowed Johnson plenty of time to find a soft spot behind the linebacker.
Williams, nowhere to go that time. Taken down by Chance Henderson. 2-yard loss.
Well, you have to watch those big guys inside. 95 Timmons, 98 Troop. Those guys are tough, hard to run inside there.
After the play was over, personal foul, 49 defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first.
Boy, Rod, you come up with a nice defensive play, and that's got to drive George O'Leary just crazy as Bruce Miller was flagged there.
Well, that's the 2nd personal foul against Central Florida, and they've got to get a handle on their emotions. And I get it. I understand. They're worked up. They got beat 64-12 last year, last game in the series. But you know something? You have to play with control. You can't just run around taking shots at guys after the whistle and not expect to be seen.
Yeah, it belies the description that the coaches talk about Miller. They say he's a very intelligent and smart player, but undisciplined there, picking up that penalty. Empty backfield. Grothe tries to make some room of his own, but unable to. A loss of 1. Jason Benson once again up to make the stop.
One of the alerts that the Central Florida coaches noticed in their film study is that whenever there's an empty backfield, no running backs around Grothy likes to run that power play off tackle. And so when they see that, they are really overplaying off the tackles to stop that run, and they did it that time.
This time he is flanked in the backfield by Bo Blanchard, who dazzled on their first drive. 2nd and 12. Grothy, plenty of time, going deep. And inside the 5-yard line, again, it's Taurus Johnson, a 45-yard toss and catch. Grothy to Johnson.
Well, Grothy has just way too much time back here on this deep route. He has plenty of time. He can read a magazine while he's back there. Look at him here. No pressure. Let me pick out my guy. And then the accuracy comes in. A little push off there by Johnson he got away with. But that accuracy on that ball, pretty simple.
Blanchard is set deep. Taylor in motion. Blanchard gets the call. Unable to find much room in the middle of that Knights defense. Jordan Richards leading the surge defensively. A junior from North Carolina playing that strong side. Williams, Blanchard, and Taylor in the power backfield. Grothy looking to do it on his own. He was pressured and then stacked up. It'll make for a 3rd and goal.
Yeah, big play. Central Florida defensively now. You got the crowd behind you. What do you think? Well, you have to expect that Grothy is going to try and do something on the perimeter with the football. Hit him outside, let him see, or let him run with it. And if you're Central Florida, that's where you're coming. Outside.
Taylor is the back set deep. Option to the right side. He's able to get it to him. But the defense comes up with the big stop. And Bruce Miller, who got that flag earlier in this drive, makes a very fine stop down inside the 5.
Kudos to the defensive staff for Central Florida, anticipating that they had to go outside with Grothy. This option never had a chance. They overplayed, had numbers outside. Miller one of many to get there on that play.
That brings out Delbert Alvarado to attempt a 20-yarder. Alvarado's kick is up and through. So a little bend, but don't break from Central Florida, 10-7. This telecast is available on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. And in magnificent HD, look at that sunset here at Bright House Network Stadium as the sun starts to set on what many thought would be an emerging rivalry between Central Florida and South Florida. But South Florida coming in and outscored Central Florida 122-43 in the first 3 games of this series. Peachy to kick off. This time it's Darren Baldwin. Remember, Burnett had the big return. Baldwin now, who looked for space on the left side, only able to get to the 22-yard line. Was taken down by Cameron Perkins.
Can you blame them?
Cameron
I wouldn't
Perkins
kick the Burnett either anymore. 91 yards for a touchdown on the first kickoff. I'd kick away from him.
So Michael Greco comes back out with that Central Florida offense. A lot of question marks surrounding Greco. Can he provide enough consistent play for this team? Weaver unable to make much of it. George Selvian on the play.
Let's take a look at the impact players for that offense for Central Florida. And it all begins up front for them left tackle Pat Brown. We told you about him at the opening. He's a big, powerful guy with a tough matchup with George Selvey. And on the outside, Rocky Ross, the most experienced receiver they have, had 50 catches last season. And this man, Corey Rabazinski, could be really important for the young quarterback who hasn't had a lot of consistency. Rabazinski is a big target out there for him, a tight end.
2nd and 10. Weaver again gets the call. And once again, that defensive line for South Florida is able to corral him.
Well, we talked about this man all night, George Selvey. 14.5 sacks last season, and that helps Jared Bowie get some sacks of his own on the other side of the field. And then in their secondary, they've got a guy who's been around a long time, Carlton Williams, veteran guy in the backfield, has done a nice job for them.
3rd and 7 now. Broncos only thrown one pass so far tonight. Gets it quickly on the slant and good for a first down to Rocky Ross. 14-yard gainer. Good confidence builder also for Greco early on, Rod.
Absolutely, and it helps when you get a little bit of protection, and that's because, watch the left side over here. They are working on this guy right here. That's Selvey. They are working on him, and Pat Brown has him and gets a little bit of help at the end there. They're making sure he stays off of Greco so Greco can get a little confidence back there trying to throw the football.
First down from the 39. Play action now for Greco. And that is complete to midfield once again to Ross. 11 yards and a first down.
And right now, a solid approach by Tim Salmon, the offensive coordinator, changing up protection for Greco. We saw the double team on the play before the last one. And then that time, he rolls him out outside of Selvey. It's all designed to make sure that Selvey doesn't disrupt the offense. That's how important Selvey is to that defense.
Haynes, Waters, and Williams to the top. Weaver, a loss of 1 on the play. Terrell McLean.
You know, partner, we watched some tape of Selvey, and I was amazed at your reaction. You were, wow, look at him. He's just dominating. It was amazing. He is that kind of a player. He jumps out on tape.
Just that classic NFL-style speed outside edge rusher that can make the most of his athletic ability and completely disrupt an offense. 2nd and 10 now for Greco. They once again go with the inside handoff, and McLean takes down Weaver again.
Well, let's talk about looking at Central Florida and what they need to do. I mean, we just spent some time researching these guys as well, and for them, they have to find a way to run the football. Kevin Smith now with the Detroit Lions, great for them last year. They also have to make sure they get first downs on at least 75% of their drives. And in defense, well, we talked about it, they got to contain Grothy.
Greco's 3 for 3, now facing a 3rd down. Completes another one, but this is short of a first down. Kenneth Williams is going out there in the flats, and Nate Allen was able to defend easily there.
And that's not one of the first downs. They didn't pick that up now. Tim Salmon told us yesterday that he got to that 75% number by looking at every winning program the last couple of seasons, and he figured out winning teams get first downs. There he is right there. Winning teams get first downs on 75% of their drives.
Wing and punt. Marcus Edwards calls for the fair catch and brings it in. That's a very unique stat, and something we will delve into more as the night goes on. 37-yard punt there, and South Florida will take over on offense. And Monday Night Football returns to ESPN this week. It's a special doubleheader. First at 7 Eastern, Adrian Peterson leads Minnesota against Green Bay. Then at 10:15, the Broncos and the Raiders. Monday Night Football beginning at 7 Eastern on ESPN.
You know, partner, you didn't say that the right way.
What's that?
It's Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
Raiders.
The Boomer. He's going to be excited for Monday Night Football.
First and 10 from the 11.
So South Florida back to work. That means Matt Grothy. Blanchard testing the right side. And look, Grothy Pendleton himself did a wonderful job of faking out the defensive front there. David Williams finally got to him, but Grothy is so good with that option.
But they're solely focused on Grothy. I mean, they're making sure they always have a guy to the outside to keep him inside.
Had a little bit of everything in the first quarter. Good offense from South Florida, tremendous special teams from Central Florida. 10-7 close out in front. College football prime time. Alongside Rod Gilmore, I'm Joe Tessitore. We welcome you back to Orlando. South Florida, 133 yards of total offense in that first quarter. Central Florida, 131 yards of kickoff returns, thus only separated by a field goal. Grothy, this time complete for a first down, and that is Jesse Hester with the 10-yard gain there.
Well, one of the difficulties in playing South Florida is that their inside receivers are often matched up against linebackers or strong safeties, and that's a big advantage for South Florida. It's hard to cover a guy like Hester.
Grothy on first down this time. He fakes the run and looks deep. And it is just batted away. A.J. Love went up for it, but Joe Burnett was able to get to him.
And I want you to watch the recovery speed by Burnett. It's okay to get beat, but you have to get back and make the play. You see how he closed on that? He got in there and made the play after initially being beat.
Rod, he wasn't even in the frame of the television screen for a moment there, and then he comes in to make the play.
I'm telling you, that closing speed is something.
Had a 91-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in the first quarter. On 2nd and 10, Grothy. Safety net is Blanchard. Blanchard still breaking tackles, and Blanchard is able to get it to the 32-yard line. Pick up a 5.
Oh my, did you hear that hit? Blanchard got blasted, but it did nothing to it. I mean, he's 5'9", 200 pounds, and watch him just bounce off of this initial hit that he gets out here. Look at that. That's a big hit.
Now it's Derek Coleman. They're 2 for 3 on third down. That ball almost intercepted. Not a good throw by Grothy. Jonell Neal made a diving effort for it. Very interesting story on Jonell Neal we're going to detail later.
Well, and Grothy's mad at his receiver because his receiver, Mitchell, did not come back for the ball. I mean, he wanted him to come back and catch the ball. Instead, he allowed Neal to come in and almost make a play.
Very dangerous Joe Burnett is back deep for the Alvarado punt. And it's a low one and off to the side. Picks up the ground ball. But Burnett unable to get past that first wave of special team tacklers for South Florida. 43-yard punt. Central Florida down a field goal. Their offense on the field when we return.
I want to see people finishing with great effort, and let's see what happens at the end of this game. Simple as that.
Baby, let's go.
Now, you get yourselves ready to go, fellas. Well, captains go out in 5 minutes, man. We'll take the rest of you out about 3.5, 4 minutes, man. And you hit that field ready to play, man. You defend your house, fellas. Simple as that. Defend your house and be accountable and finish. Finish, finish, finish. Simple as that. Now get yourselves ready to go.
Head coach George O'Leary for Central Florida, one of the real veterans of the sidelines in this grand game, and he loves his stay here at Central Florida. He believes in the program and the university's commitment, but this is the last go-round he's going to have with the cross-state rivals, 17th-ranked South Florida. Greco, lots of time, rolling out to the near side. Incomplete, intended for Ross. Let's check in with Wendy Nix.
Joe, thank you. A Taco Bell studio update. East Carolina and West Virginia. Patrick Pinckney to Alex Taylor. And East Carolina has done it again. That made it 17-3. Jesse, they win 24-3 for the second straight week.
Outstanding job by the East Carolina defense, shutting Pat White down, throwing the football. This was an excellent win for Skip Holtz, the second straight win over a top 25 team.
Weaver unable to shake loose. Just a pickup of one. So, wow. King of the hill.
Yeah, well, George Shelby's not the king right now. He's drawing a lot of attention. A couple of guys on him almost every play. Look at him here. Gets a double team. Once again, he gets a tight end, and then now he draws a guard. Everywhere he goes, he's drawing a crowd. So his statistics may be down this season because of all the attention he's getting. 31.5 tackles for a loss last season. He has 2 tackles today, none for losses.
3rd and 9. In Central Florida. Greco airs it out. That was thrown out of bounds, way off to the side, intended for Rocky Ross.
Well, Greco did not have an awful lot of time. He got drilled by Terrell McLean and also Jared Bowie on the left side coming in. McLean comes up the middle. You see that big hit, and you're talking about a guy who goes about 305 pounds laying into Michael Greco.
So Klingon back on to punt. Marcus Edwards back deep for the Bulls. Edwards feels it and is immediately taken down by John-El Neal. Now last year these two met up and it was all South Florida as Grothy threw for 2 touchdowns, also ran for a couple of touchdowns, racked up 312 yards of total offense, and the Bulls absolutely routed them 64-12. There's some talking about, hey, maybe they ran it up a bit towards the end of that game. And a lot of those folks were in the black and gold of Central Florida in those conversations. Blanchard, this time unable to get free. Lawrence Young with a very nice surge defensively for the 4-yard loss.
Yeah, Tess, that 64-12 last season, that'll get your attention. I've been in games like that. SC got me and my Stanford teammates one year 49-0. And you feel bad. I mean, you can't wait to get back at them. And, you know, we got back at them the next year. But it's what you think about all season long. How do you get back and make amends for just being destroyed? You're embarrassed. Everywhere you go, it's all you hear about.
Grothy on 2nd and long now. And this time it is complete to Carlton Mitchell.
Grothy's pass is hauled in. Carlton Mitchell.
Jim Leavitt has a lot of returners back to the offensive side of the ball. I mean, this team is loaded when it comes to the skill position. You start prepping for a South Florida game, and you better have your pencil handy because they go 3 deep and about 13 positions. I mean, they'll throw out multiple receiver positions, multiple running back A, running back B. They stock that roster with the skill set guys. 5 receivers now for Grothy. Grothy, plenty of time. And now a little bit of pressure makes him force into the legs. And Grothy has himself a first down. And that's what he's able to do. He can do it by way of air or by way of land.
All right, so that's a 7-yard loss. It should have been a 7-yard loss. Yet he turned that into a first down. And we talked about the #1 thing for Central Florida, keep him in contained. Don't let him get outside. Look at what he does here. Now you have him. You got him right there. But they don't let go of him. Look at him. He shakes it off. No contain to the outside. And he picks up the first down.
Taylor to the 35. You know, getting back to Grothy and his ability to run with the ball. He says because he has a black belt in karate and his martial arts expertise, that's how he's able to avoid tacklers and create big runs.
I just thought he was Houdini.
Yeah.
I mean that last one, it just looked like he just kind of disappeared when he was about to be sacked. I tell you one thing, with that black belt, I wouldn't mess with him.
Tough, fiery leader of the South Florida offense. Taylor in the backfield, 3 receivers to the near, 1 to the top. Grothy. That is overthrown and picked off. And here comes John L. Neal. Touchdown, Central Florida. Flag is down. But a 62-yard return from John L. Neal. So each quarterback, if it holds up.
After the interception and during the return, block in the back, number 46 on the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down, Central Florida.
The touchdown will come off, but each starting cornerback has made hugely impactful plays in this game. We know what Joe Burnett did on special teams. Now Neal.
Well, this is not Grothy's fault. A.J. Love quits on this route. It's a stop and go, and look at him. He runs a comeback. The ball goes deep. Grothy was irritated before about guys not running the right route, and he gets it here. And Neal takes this one, gets a great block at the end, but there was a flag. This does come back. It is not a touchdown. It will be Central Florida football.
And John L. Neal. Just an amazing story with this young man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This past May, he became the first person in his family to graduate from college. He returned home to Louisiana, and he was the victim of a random shooting. Survived 4 shots, 2 to the arm, 2 to the chest, and back here playing for the Knights.
I was amazed to hear the story, and George O'Leary said he got on a plane and went down there, and guys said, hey, I'm okay. Don't worry about me, coach. And here he is playing.
And here is Ronnie Weaver. And once again, that front 7 in South Florida not making much running room for Weaver. Another flag is in here.
Looks like he said personal foul. We have Big East officials here.
John McDade leading the crew of Big East officials.
There's no foul for a late hit out of bounds.
Wow.
Well, between the interception return and then that call, Natives getting a little restless.
Well, remember, you have South Florida from the Big East, and you have Big East officials, and you have Central Florida from Conference USA. And don't think that isn't lost on the fans here.
Yeah. Look what just happened in Conference USA and Big East meetings earlier today. Greco now sprints to the near side and looking to make a move on the sideline. Another flag comes in. Brian Waters trying to shake and bake there. That flag's on the far side, away from the play rod.
Offensive pass interference. Number 5, blocking downfield prior to the pass. 15-yard penalty, second down.
They snagged Rocky Ross. Did he clear the way for Brian Waters on that play?
A little bit. That's kind of a pick. But you know, the fans don't care right now. All they know is that these officials have thrown flags 3 occasions, taking things away from Central Florida,
including 7 points off the scoreboard after the interception return. And then a couple of penalties here to start the subsequent drive. So Central Florida is moving in the opposite direction.
Well, let's take a look here on the sideline. This is the one where they threw the flag, and then they picked it up. Now he's out of bounds. There's another hit out of bounds. That's a safety issue. They threw the flag, and then they picked it up.
George O'Leary going to get a chance to talk things over.
That's a penalty in my book.
10-7 South Florida.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Nissan, passionate about performance and proud sponsor of the Heisman Trophy. And ESPN Game Plan. See the most college football every Saturday. To order, call your pay-per-view provider.
Last night was movie night out in front of the arena here at the campus of Central Florida. They are looking for a Hollywood script to wrap up their series, their rivalry with South Florida. South Florida leads the series 3-0 to and this is the last meeting in the near future for these two teams. A 2nd and 26 after the field has been littered with flags, and they run it up the gut with Ronnie Weaver, and that'll bring up a 3rd and long. Glad you're with us here at Bright House Network Stadium in Orlando, Florida, as number 17 South Florida taking on the rival Central Florida. I'm Joe Tessitore alongside Rod Gilmore. Last year it went 64-12 South Florida, but this year a much different setting as Central Florida wants to get after it here. Last time they get a chance, they've had a 91-yard kickoff return, trailing only by 3. 3rd and I-4 for Greco. Finally lets it loose, and almost a dangerous decision. Jerome Murphy got his hands on it.
Dangerous, very dangerous, and they have to be careful. They have to make sure that Greco is not put in tough spots. They were going to have trouble picking up this first down because of all the yardage, and he was running for his life. They have to stay away from those 3rd and long. He's not ready to deal with those situations. This is only his 2nd start as a quarterback in college football.
Remember, that series came off the interception return for a touchdown that was called back. And now this, Marcus Edwards fielding the punt at the 30-yard line. So no harm done for South Florida, and you can hear the reaction from the Central Florida fans.
Well, they wanted another call here. They didn't get it. They wanted a block in the back.
Instead, they'll get more of Matt Grothry, and the Bulls offense will George O'Leary. 10-7 Bulls. Preseason All-American George Selby, the star defensive end for South Florida. Right now, his offense out on the field, and that means Matt Grothry, so elusive with his legs, now showing off the arm, and that is incomplete over the middle, intended for Jesse Hester.
That's the matchup they look for in the passing game. They want to get Hester or any other guy who's in the slot working against linebackers.
They scored on that very play last week.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a bad matchup. Here he is right there. You see him. He's against a linebacker. There's no way a linebacker can cover anybody as quick as Hester with that much space.
2nd and 10 for Grothry. Empty backfield out of the gun. A little bit of pressure now being applied. And that was thrown behind Carlton Mitchell. Let's check in with Wendy Nix.
Joe, thank you. Number 6 Missouri, the big win over Illinois last week. Tonight, Southeast Missouri, some trickery. Jerry Macklin to Chase Daniel. He gets it out to Derek Washington. And how about that? 21-0. Missouri, though, now up 35-0 over Southeast Missouri State.
Thanks, Wendy. Macklin is something special. Grothry hasn't been the last 5 throws. 5 straight incompletions. 3rd and 10 now. 3 to the top, 2 to the near. Grothry going to come up 4 yards short.
Well, Matt Grothry has a lot of confidence in his feet. Watch this end zone look. Well, look to the left side. Going to get a big rush up the middle, and he finds a lane right away. He has no desire to hang in there and wait. He's off to try to pick up the football with his feet because he knows he's good enough to do it, but not that time.
So Alvarado back on the punt for the Bulls. Good boot into it. Joe Burnett from his 20. Burnett with blockers. And Burnett crosses into positive territory. 33 53-yard return for Joe Burnett.
Watch the way he is so deliberate, and he sets up his blocks. He's very patient. He waits for things to happen. Look at him here. He's waiting, and he sees this one right here, and he lets it happen before he makes his move. Lets it happen, and now he's back inside. He is such a patient return man.
If you want to pull off an upset, Rod, special teams have to play a role, and he has done that tonight. That is Ronnie Weaver.
Inside handoff to Ronnie Weaver, covered up by McKenzie.
You know what I would do? I'd put Burnett on offense.
Selvey.
He's the best offensive player Central Florida has had. Here's Selvey. He's relentless. He just chases things down. If you don't block him, he will get involved in the play. But back to my point, I would get Burnett involved offensively because he is their best option, I think, when he touches the ball.
George Selvey, the Big East Defensive Player of the Year a year ago, and they say he's gotten better through technique and studying the game. That is a scary, scary thought for opposing offensive coordinators. Two tight ends, Weaver the lone back. Greco gonna run it himself.
Greco, the ball carrier.
And Selvey was able to get back to Greco after a pickup of 5.
He is relentless. Watch him here. They put 2 guys on him, and he still is able to get back in the play. He just doesn't give up. And what a great motor. And this is a guy who only started playing defensive end as a senior in high school. And he's still learning how to play that position.
He is lean and mean, 6'4", 245, and speed that kills. George Selvey. 3rd and 5 now. They're only 1 for 5 on 3rd downs by the Knights. Greco pressured early, flips it out, and has it complete to his tight end, Corey Rabazinski. A 1st down for Central Florida.
Well, he's one of the impact players we talked about, Rabazinski, the tight end. Now watch how they roll to his side to get around Selvey. Selvey just could not make the play there. And Rabazinski in perfect position to pick up the 1st down. Good friend for Michael Greco, who's not been able to throw the ball down the field yet.
Greco just has 42 yards of passing here in this 1st half. Greco finds his target that time. It is a minimal gain to Sidney Haynes.
Taken out of bounds by number 17, Danny Burwell.
Everything that is thrown so far, everything's been short. It's been short to medium range. They haven't really thrown beyond 10, 12 yards down the field yet, and that's because they don't have time. I mean, Selvey, although he hasn't made a sack, he is still applying pressure.
Greco sprints to the left. Almost intercepted. The front man was Danny Verpel. Now it's time for the Aflac Trivia question. And we ask you, what 5 universities have a larger enrollment than the University of Central Florida? Hey, this is a big school here, Central Florida, but there are 5 that are bigger. Think about it.
Can we give a little help here? I mean, just a little help.
Well, I know it's not Rice.
No.
Last week.
Yeah, but the one thing I'm thinking about is that, you know, there are 47,000 students here at Central Florida. So you got to think big. You can't think little small schools, right? Pretty big.
3rd and 5 now for the Knights. They have been marching well here. Greco pressured right up the middle. Swings it out to Rocky Ross, and Ross is close to a 1st down.
The ball is pulled down on the field, so that'll move the chains.
Let's see where they spot it, and it is good for a 1st down.
Well, Rocky Ross is not incredibly fast. He's just clutch. He made 50 catches last season, and he always seems to come up with a key grab. That is not a well-thrown football, but he manages to come up with it, and the lunge at the end gets the 1st down.
Senior from Jacksonville, he's described by his coaches as one of those guys every team in America wants to have on the team, and you see in an effort like that stretching out for the 1st down. Weaver now. Locker in front. And Weaver is able to slice his way to the 23.
I had a question for you. How good would this Central Florida team be if Kevin Smith had not gone to the NFL?
Hey, what's Kevin Smith doing this weekend? What are his plans this weekend? Kevin Smith is starting for the Detroit Lions. He is a starting running back in the league, cashing a paycheck. And you know what he did in his career, and he was sensational a year ago, and he is sorely missed.
Well, you voted him, what, number 2 for the Heisman?
Number 2 in the Heisman last year on my ballot. I thought one of the most grossly underrated years a college running back has ever had. That's Latavius Murray, the lone back now. And Murray going to get a chance, but not much happening. Only a pickup of 2. Bruce Montpremier with the tackle.
Well, we talked about Kevin Smith and his being in the NFL. Last year, he was something special, some 2,500 yards. And boy, did he hurt Texas when he played against them. Anybody that was big time, he played big time against them. You know, he's the kind of back that could make guys miss, but he also had the power and strength to break tackles. No arm tackles against him, and he had a nice little straight arm to go with it.
Murray the lone back on 3rd and 6. Greco looking to pick up the first down here. And his intended target was Rocky Ross, but it was thrown too far to the middle, and Carlton Williams tried to make a play on that ball.
And this Central Florida offense has not found a replacement yet for Kevin Smith. They're trying to find a running back who can pick up some of what was left when Smith took off, but they haven't found that yet, and it hurts them on those 3rd downs where they are in between situations, and now that leaves them with the field goal instead of picking up a first down.
They're going to trot out the freshman Nick Patoy for a 38-yard attempt to tie this game. Turning into that kind of night for the Knights. Tied up the 17th ranked team in the country. Get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis this Sunday on ESPN. First at 11 Eastern, Chris Berman hosts Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. They're going to talk about the Patriots, possibly a Super Bowl hangover, and Tony Romo, the NFL celebrity poster boy. Then at 7 Eastern, Boomer and John Saunders deliver the day's highlights and scores on SportsCenter. That's Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM and SportsCenter this Sunday on ESPN.
Is there a better time than the fall when you got NFL going and college football?
If you got red blood pumping, how can you not love what the sports calendar has brought around? We got a tie game here with a team that is very well regarded in South Florida, and with what's happening in the Big East right now, they can really take advantage and be king of the hill and aim towards a BCS berth. But Central Florida is geared up for this, the last meeting in the rivalry.
You know, we took shots at the ACC last week for performing poorly. Big East on the bubble tonight. West Virginia losing. If South Florida goes down, the Big East is really going to hear it.
Johnson. Out to the 27. Well, earlier we asked you the Aflac trivia question. What 5 universities have a larger enrollment than UCF? Rod, give me a stat here.
What do you want, 47,000 students at UCF? Okay.
Ohio State, Minnesota, the Big Ten.
Yep.
Up in Gainesville, not far away. That's a big one. And Arizona State and Texas. Some predictable answers there, but Central Florida. You know, George O'Leary says, hey, with this student body and the commitment here, it's only upside.
And I feel this stadium rocking right now.
And once again, it is Mo Blanchard, a junior from Naples. Had 2 touchdowns last week. First scores of his career.
You know, we have not seen Mike Ford, their prize recruit who committed to Alabama a couple of years ago and came to South Florida. He's out tonight apparently with a bad ankle.
Blanchard had a 15-yard touchdown to start off the night of scoring. 2nd and 4 for Grothy. And Grothy has it complete to his tight end, Cedric Hill. Let's check in with Wendy Nix. What's coming up at the half, Wendy?
Well, Joe, thank you. Jesse Palmer will join me. 2 weeks, 2 top 25 teams, 2 wins for East Carolina. Coach Skip Holtz, you'll hear what he has to say.
BYU Washington going down to the wire, but you'll never believe how this one ended. We got highlights coming up.
Plus a quick tour of the top 10. Joe, back to you.
Look forward to that as Grothy has it complete the midfield, and that is Torres Johnson. Forget what Skip has to say. What about what Lou's going to have to? I mean, Lou's going to be going out there with contract negotiations starting tomorrow, isn't he?
I think so. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jesse Palmer called that one. I think he picked East Carolina to knock off West Virginia.
That is a damaging blow to the reputation of the Big East after the ACC took it on the chin last week, and now maybe the best team still standing in the Big East early on in this college football season, having a tough time here with Central Florida. Corey Hogue with the tackle there against Grothy.
Well, you think about it, West Virginia going down to East Carolina. You know, Rutgers got slammed by Fresno State, and now you have Central Florida, you know, beating up on South Florida here, a 10-10 tie when South Florida was favored by a lot in this ball game. If South Florida loses this ball game, the Big East, I'm telling you, they're going to hear it.
Last year, the score of this game was 64-12 South Florida. Grothy. Good pressure from the front four and linebacker Corey Hogue.
That's a 6-yard loss on the play. 2nd and 16.
What a scene developing here at Bright House Network Stadium. Last chance, last dance between these two. South Florida wants to head off to bigger and better things. They got Miami on the schedule starting next year. They said if we're heading in a certain direction, we don't want to play Central Florida anymore. Well, Central Florida wants to let them know where they stand as a program.
I can tell you, as a former player, a crowd can affect the ball game. And this crowd, as loud as they are, you feel it when you're a visitor. You hear it. You can't talk to your teammates. It does have an impact on you in a ball game. And I think this crowd is having an impact on South Florida right now.
They open up this stadium with a very close game against the Texas Longhorns. They then put together a win streak that took Conference USA. And now here early in this season, when their offense seemed depleted and they seemed like a big dog in a tough spot, they're showing some bark. 2nd and 16 for Grothy. Flushed again. Airs it out. And that is incomplete. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series heads to Richmond. Now or never for Jeff Gordon. One last shot to make it to the chase. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Chevy Rock and Roll 400 at Richmond, Sunday, 1 Eastern on ESPN. They'll be rocking and rolling in NASCAR, and they are rocking and rolling here in Orlando. Can the Knights defense come up with yet another stop? Grothy trying to shake loose and corralled once again in the backfield. Jarvis gathers. Good pressure on the junior quarterback.
And the key to the game so far for that defense, containing Grothy, keeping him in the pocket. He's had 10 rushes for 19 yards, and he's been caught back there, unable to deliver the ball down the field because of the pressure from the outside.
Grothy's numbers, the interception. He's dangerous on the ground with only 19 yards with 10 rushes tonight. A mix of special teams and very specially played defense from the Knights has tied up this game.
You think that quote that he made following last year's game didn't get the attention of the Central Florida guys?
His reaction is 64-12. Speaking about George O'Leary's team, was this from Matt Grothy. I hope they like what happened because we weren't trying to run up the score. were that much better than them. Boy, that rings like a bell in the ears of that Central Florida defense. Joe Burnett back deep. Lets it bounce over his head.
Ball is kicked into the end zone, so it'll be first down and 10.
Burnett, with the signature play of this first half, had a 91-yard kickoff return. And he's been locking down the edge defensively, playing himself some solid cornerback along with John L. Neal, who added an interception earlier.
Put him on offense. Not this half, 13 seconds ago, but second half, just line him up out there.
They could use a game breaker now with the absence of Kevin Smith. And Michael Greco was looking to take a knee, but there was movement up front from John Hafferty.
5-yard penalty, first down.
Against the Knights, first and 15 from the 15.
A South Florida team that rose up in the polls last year, had the upset of Auburn, beat top 5 West Virginia, came into this season with their first ever preseason ranking, a big favorite here in the final game of this 4-game series, a series they have dominated, but a series that right now Central Florida wants the last laugh in. All tied 10-10. Now let's join Wendy Nix and Jesse Palmer in the studio for the halftime report. Burnett catches a seam. Joe Burnett with a blocker in front. Burnett, how about that? Right back at it, 91 yards. We welcome you back to ESPN's College Football Prime Time. 17th ranked South Florida, the Bulls tied up here at Central Florida. Joe Tessitore alongside Rod Gilmore. And Rod, when I talked to you earlier today and we started breaking down what could possibly happen in this game, one of the things I pointed out was, hey, I don't have a lot of confidence in the Central Florida offense, but I do have confidence in the Central Florida defense against Matt Brophy.
Yeah, we talked about their need to contain Brophy, and that's exactly what they did in the first half. Whenever he tried to run the ball, they forced him back inside. When he tried to throw it, they by and large kept him from getting to the outside and gaining positive yardage. Only 19 yards rushing on 10 carries for Brophy in the first half. So they did their job defensively.
Now, as for that Central Florida offense, they still have to deal with the All-American George Sully.
Oh, he's big-time trouble. They did a nice job, though, in the first half. No tackles for losses, no sacks, but he is relentless. He still managed to get in and make 4 tackles and make his presence felt. They double-teamed him. Sometimes they sent a third guy his way. He's having an impact, even though he doesn't have a sack in the first half. We're talking about the Big East Defensive Player of the Year.
You look at the first half stats and you'll see the total yards heavily favoring South Florida, but look down there at the bottom of the screen, return yards. Central Florida 167. Of course, the 91-yard kickoff return by Joe Burnett. The touchdown in the first half that really sparked things. And now we'll see if they can keep that momentum going, as an upset could be brewing here, but South Florida will get a chance to come right out and answer the bell as they are to receive here in this second half. Bogan and Johnson back deep to receive from the kick of Nick Catoy. This is Bogan. Backed up at the 22.
All right, Tess, let's take a look at tonight's AutoZone playbook, and it's Burnett's touchdown run. Take a look here. These are the 2 blockers that do the great job crisscrossing. And watch the lane that opens up for Burnett. Stop it right there. Take a look at that huge lane that he has just to pick out. He only has to make 1 guy miss. He does that with great footwork and then turns on the Jets. And that's been the biggest offensive play or special teams play of the night.
Matt Brophy. 3 receivers to the near side, 2 to the top, and he goes to the top over the middle for a 9-yard pickup to Carlton Mitchell. Matt Brophy 26 straight games he has started at quarterback for South Florida. Very strong, running the ball. And a very dangerous weapon, but now that Central Florida defense is fired up. Joe Burnett coming up. 2-yard loss against Jamar Taylor.
Well, they're able to get 8, 9 guys around the line of scrimmage. They take on blockers and get rid of them. And everybody, including the cornerback Burnett, involved in the play in the backfield.
He said the rise to glory happened so fast a year ago, just trying to take it all in. And now wasting no time early in this season of a real challenge in front of him. 3rd and 3. That is complete for a first down to Jesse Hester.
You know, Ted, that was one of the few times we've seen Grothy look to a second receiver. And he looked to his right side the first time, and he found nothing open there, and then came back to his left. By and large, he's been looking for one receiver and then taking off if he doesn't find him.
Is that the next stage in development that you're looking for out of Grothy, Rod? Is that something you've been noticing, his ability to go through?
Absolutely. We talked at the beginning about how he relies on his feet. His feet make him a better player, but he's got to be able to pick up the second receiver when nothing's there.
Plenty of time. Airs it downfield, and bringing it home is Carlton Mitchell. So now South Florida, right out of the gate here in the second half, is looking to burst right through a 44-yard gain.
When you don't have the safety in the middle, you cannot let the receiver inside there if you're the cornerback on that side. And that's exactly what happens to Justin Body as he allows Mitchell to get inside of him. Mitchell with great position, and how about the accuracy from Grothy on that deep ball?
You see, Justin Body's best football is ahead of him. They need his best football right now if they're going to pull this thing off. Play action. Grothy right over the middle to his big target, the tight end, Cedric Hill. That didn't take long, did it? 18-yard touchdown, Grothy to Hill.
Now watch the linebackers as they step up on this. See this? They're both going. And even here, they're all going. That allows this man to get right back behind him. That's Hill getting behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. Easy pickings for Grothy.
Albert Alvarado tacks it on. And South Florida jumps right out here in this second half. Bulls by 7. Can Central answer? Stay with us. Cedric Hill from Titletown, USA, Valdosta, Georgia, the senior tight end for South Florida. Put the Bulls up a touchdown with his 18-yard touchdown catch moments ago. South Florida scored a touchdown on the first drive of the game, and now the first drive here of the second half. Dennis Williams and Darren Baldwin back deep. Williams. Oh, and Williams is taken down right at the 20.
For the return.
Nice hit by Sinclair there. And Rod, now comes the big question.
Yep.
Because we know what happened in the first half. It was special teams. It was outstanding defense from Central Florida to make it 10-10. But now it's on the offense. Can they do it?
Where will they find a playmaker? They haven't had one tonight.
Greco able to complete that ball. And good for a first down to Brian Waters. Good yank there from Waters running after the catch. 15-yard gain.
And that's the first time we've seen any yards after the catch. And no one is really making guys miss for Central Florida. This is the one time they've picked up any yardage. Watch this. Nice rollout. Now watch as Waters gets something afterwards. He runs by a tackle. They're still waiting for somebody to make a play.
Weaver Taken down in the backfield. 1 yard loss. Tyrone McKenzie able to make the tackle against Weaver.
And the problem with this test is that if you don't have a guy out there that can get you a chunk or two of yardage and make somebody else miss, that puts more pressure on Greco. And this is only his second start as a quarterback. And he can't take over a game.
Rod, they don't have those chunk players. This offense does not have those big play players. It's a move the chains a little bit at a time kind of offense, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Greco flush to the near side and somehow, some way, able to complete that to Rocky Ross. Pickup of 8.
You know, talking to O'Leary and his offensive coordinator, Coach Tim Salmon, they believe in getting first downs. As you see, the right foot did come down there for Rocky Ross. And what was the phrase he used with us yesterday? I guess he said, they run to win, but throw to score.
Throw to score, run to win, the offensive philosophy of Tim Salem. 3rd and 3, what will he dial up now? 3-step drop. Open receiver is Rocky Ross. And Ross has a first down. 6-yard pickup. Able to get past Jerome Murphy.
And Tim Salem is content. He wants to make sure that his quarterback is comfortable. And he talked to us about rolling him out, getting him out of the pocket. And this time he does it one more time, gets him outside there, and Ross makes a nice grab and gets a little bit of yards after the catch.
6-yard gain, 1st and 10 from the 48.
2 tight ends now. Fresh set of downs. Play action, sprinting to the near side. Greco just a little high and to the outside of Waters. Nate Allen had coverage for South Florida.
And one of the other things that Salem told us yesterday, he's looking for a running back. Doesn't have one right now. In this play, you see they're rolling out, still throwing the ball. But looking for a running back out of the group of freshmen to step up and give them a little bit of what they got from Kevin Smith last year.
Got 4 first-year players there. Ronnie Weaver's been getting the majority of the work. He only has 8 yards on 11 carries. George Selby, by the way, the star defensive end for South Florida, not in on this 2nd and 10. Weaver,
the ball carrier.
49.
Selby in on the stop.
Well, here's the quad running backs all trying to replace Kevin Smith.
And Weaver, Ronnie Weaver is the oldest. He's a redshirt freshman. All the other guys, all 3 of them, they were in high school just a few months ago.
All Kevin Smith did was leave early, go to the NFL, and find himself a starting job for the Detroit Lions. The All-American Selby back in here on 3rd and 10. Watch him coming off the edge. Here comes the pressure. And Greco just gets it out too quick. That play was blown up. Now, one of the other offensive philosophies is just get a first down on our offensive drive. So they were able to do that and maybe win the field position game, but unable to answer the opening score of this second half from South Florida.
How about all the research Tim Salem put into that stat? 75%. That's what you're looking for. You got to get a first down on 75% of your drives in order to win.
Marcus Edwards. Oh, that's going to be a penalty. Reggie Weems came flying in there.
Well, he's lucky they haven't tossed him out of the game, because protecting defenseless players is a point of emphasis.
Fair catch interference on the kicking team, number 40. 15-yard penalty, first down.
You know, and officials are determined to protect guys who cannot protect themselves, and that is a guy who is defenseless. And if an official believes that it's egregious enough, he can call a personal foul and kick him out of the ball game.
Hard hitting. It's a rivalry game. Bulls by a touchdown with the ball when we return.
ESPN ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors. Hop in. It's go time. And Kingsford. For a chance to win the ultimate bowl game experience, go to ESPN.com. Keyword search Kingsford.
Welcome back to Orlando. Joe Tessitore and Rod Gilmore with you here. 17th ranked team in the country, the South Florida Bulls, with a real test against a fired-up Central Florida team tonight. Grothy being chased down and put down by Terrell Troop. Loss of 9 on the sack. Let's check in with Wendy Nix.
Well, Joe, while you're enjoying that game on ESPN2, a 7-point ball game, looking around the family of networks, Miami and Florida on ESPN, 7-3 Gators over the Hurricanes.
Not far away, Miami and Florida. So many thought that would be a blowout win for Tebow and company, but the Canes, good young talent. Much like the game we have here, closer than expected. A helmet loose as big Richard Kelly came rumbling downhill for a 14-yard gain.
Let's take a look at that last drive where we saw the accuracy of Matt Grothy. He had trouble with his feet in the first half. Couldn't run the ball very well, but he certainly came out throwing in the second half, and that drive was all about his arm.
3rd and 4. See if that defense can crank up again. Grothy pressured again, gets loose. Another wave of tacklers unable to get the elusive Grothy. Now a penalty flag has come in, but once again the dazzling skill of Matt Grothy.
Look at block on the back. Number 71 offense. 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So that's going to take it back.
He's Houdini. I mean, 3 times I counted, he was tackled.
Matt Huners, the starting left guard, flagged on that play. He was injured most of 07, fully recovered, and now back here. But, you know, it's tough for these linemen, Rod, to stay with the play when you have a quarterback like this.
Well, it makes you tired, too. I mean, let's watch what he does here. I mean, he's right there. That's the first time they got him. You know, and they got him again right there. And finally, the 3rd guy misses over there.
So instead of a first down, it's a 3rd and 14 for Grothy. Kelly again. Twisted and turned in midair.
Oh, we got
marker come down. There's a little extra stuff after the play.
Oh, boy. You know, now this is risky. They can not only call personal foul, but fighting. They can eject. Yeah, they can eject somebody here. Will they?
Let's see how they sort things out here.
I mean, punches were thrown.
After the play was over, personal foul, 22 defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That is against Emory Allen, and you just cannot do that if you want to stay in a game like this.
Well, he's retaliating, and there's Johnson taking a shot too. They both threw punches. There was one flag call on Central Florida.
Central Florida was going to get the ball back, and Emory Allen gets flagged there for the personal foul.
Well, that is the 3rd personal foul that I count that had a big impact on a drive. The first 2 were in the first quarter.
And around Mitchell. Mitchell takes it
And around him, the number 2.
close to the 40-yard line. 8-yard gain.
Well, again, going back to the penalties, the fans are unhappy about it. They feel like Central Florida is being treated unfairly, as does O'Leary. Big East officials. Last game of the rivalry. 7 penalties on Central Florida, only 3 on South Florida. And one of those penalties nullified a touchdown on a pick 6 by Central Florida.
250-pound running back Richard Kelly is flanking Matt Grothy. Grothy keeps it himself. has a lane, and he's going north-south all the way down to the 28-yard line. 13-yard gain for Matt Grothe.
So coming out in the second half and throwing the football, getting a touchdown out of that last drive, has opened up the running game for Matt Grothe. 19 yards on 10 carries in the first half. Now in the second half, he's able to pull the ball down and pick up yardage after having thrown so well.
Think about what that penalty has now done. The opportunity for South Florida, and they are taking advantage. Grothe, quick punt to the right, but cannot escape the rush of Lawrence Young. He started as a true freshman a year ago. He's got great instincts, and he showed it there. 8-yard loss.
Big play, but there was a big play in the first half that did not count as a touchdown. Let's go back and see what happened. A bad throw, actually a bad route, and then the ball is picked up by John L. Neal. And Neal takes his back all the way. There is a block in the back called against Central Florida. A legitimate call, in my opinion, but it took away a touchdown.
Took 7 off the board. And now South Florida looking for 7 of their own. Marcus Edwards. And Edwards to the 28. Remember, that's the original line of scrimmage after the sack. The Central Florida defense has tried to contain Grothe and Jim Leavitt's offense all night long. Done a decent job. Very talented defensive backfield. Aggressive up front. Defensive coordinator Dave Huxtable putting together a game plan that has put his team in position to stay in this. Now a 3rd and 11. Can they come up big here? Just airs it out, and that was desperation there, intended for Patrick Richardson.
This has to be so frustrating for those defensive linemen for Central Florida. They get close. They just can't get Grothe. I mean, every time it seems like they've got a sack, he finds a way to disappear.
See Timmons and Tanufi Sovau. Delbert Alvarado will be on to attempt a 46-yarder. Had a chip shot 20-yarder earlier. That is blocked. Joe Burnett. What contributions on special teams he has made, and yet another penalty flag down.
Well, they're going to flag Central Florida because a South Florida guy picked up the block kick, and then one of the players for Central Florida, I think it was Travis Timmons, went and pushed the guy, and the whistles had already blown. So they're going to flag him for a personal foul.
George O'Leary's going to go out of his mind here.
The ruling on the field is the kick was blocked, was dead beyond the line, untouched by the defense. Their seating spot will be the previous spot. After the play was over, personal foul. Kicking team, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Goes the other way.
Oh, wow.
Goes the other way. But, you know, this may be one of those cases of what did the ref see and who did he see first?
There's
How about that speed by Burnett?
Oh, off the corner. That was Burnett off the corner.
And here's what happened on the back end.
Oh, I think they called that the wrong way. That's Central Florida.
Well, they may have to clarify that.
That is Central Florida that made the push.
I know it's USF and UCF. That's awful close. But, boy, Leavitt's got reason to be upset unless we're missing something. Got a good one here in Orlando. Stay with us. This telecast available on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. Glad you're with us here. Good one in Orlando. Joe Tessitore and Rod Gilmore with you as Central Florida backed up, as you can see, the 14-yard line, as the referee did reverse what he had previously said for the 15-yard penalty. It was against Central Florida. Greco. Boy, added down. And a very fine play by Carlton Williams.
You know, my problem with that call, that personal foul, was that it was already a dead ball. and the South Florida player went and picked up the ball. And then the Central Florida player, Timmons, reacted to stop the guy with the ball. Now, I think this should be a no call. He's picked it up. He's put this chain of events in action. He's a defensive player. He's thinking the guy's running with the ball. Let me get him down. I don't think that was a premeditated event of just a gratuitous personal foul. I would not have flagged him on that play. You don't agree with me?
I understand where you're going there, but it had that look of something that was unsportsmanlike. And also, what was even the point of picking up the ball in the first place?
That's my point.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you there. And here's a little how you do.
I think there's the flag also, a penalty, another penalty on Central Florida.
It has been that kind of a night. Hard hit last time these two will meet up. And breaking loose is Weaver. And Weaver goes for 11 yards there.
I might be mistaken, but I think that's the longest run from the line of scrimmage for a running back for Central Florida.
Central Florida, total offense 108, penalty yards 104. It has been the return game, the special teams, and the significant defensive stops that have them only down a score. Greco sprints to his right. Now Greco looking for running room back across the middle of the field. Monday Night Football returns to ESPN this week, and it is a special doubleheader. First at 7 Eastern, Adrian Peterson and the Vikings as the Aaron Rodgers era begins take on Green Bay. Then at 10:15, Jay Cutler and the Broncos take on the Oakland Raiders. And, of course, Darren McFadden set to star for the Raiders this year. Monday Night Football, by the way, begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN this week. 2nd and 5. 3 receivers for Greco. Airs it up. And Rocky Ross had already turned and went upfield. Wendy Nix, what do you have for us?
Joe, I'm going to take you back to Gainesville, Miami at Florida. Of course, that game on ESPN. Check out Jeff Demps with the block in the end zone, the safety for the Gators, and that makes it 9-3, number 5 Florida over Miami. Joe?
Tight one between the Gators and the Canes. State of Florida, what a night it is for these rivalry games in state. 5 straight incompletions for Greco as he faces a 3rd and 5 here. Seems like a little confusion as that play clock was running down.
Central Florida.
So George O'Leary's going to take the timeout.
You mentioned the Raiders playing Monday night. Didn't Dante Culpepper quarterback the Raiders last season?
Dante Culpepper, of course, big news this week. The retirement being announced by Dante Culpepper when he was here at Central Florida. I mean, look at these numbers in college. 12,000 yards, 84 touchdowns. And Rod, his numbers in the NFL were tremendous, at least for the first 4 or 5 years. But have you ever seen a quarterback take a bigger drop off the cliff in terms of their career than what Dante Culpepper did? And I know about the knee injury, but Dante Culpepper was as good as anybody was for a stretch of a few years.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, once he left the Minnesota Vikings and started on his journey elsewhere, it just didn't go well for him. But he had a phenomenal career at Central Florida. I mean, it was everything. That's led him to be a first-round pick, and he and Randy Moss together with the Vikings, what a combination they were.
Some of those highlights you see there of when he was a Knight here at Central Florida. There was a time when Dante Culpepper was a man among boys playing college football. 3rd and 5 now for Greco. He's trying to grow into something here with the Knights. Downfield. He had his open man, but was unable to connect with Rocky Ross.
Well, they haven't been able to hit anything downfield. Rocky Ross certainly knew he had a free safety coming to look him up. Just look down the middle of the field. Look who's coming over right there.
So Central Florida to punt. That is a high one. Patrick Richardson back deep. And the Knights will down it at about the 32, a 37-yarder. Wendy Nix.
Joe, how about a check on the Kansas Jayhawks? Quarterback Todd Reesing. Right here, the 50-yard connection with Desmond Briscoe. He's going, he's going, he's gone. He hauled in 2 touchdown catches last week. He gets it done here, and Kansas now on top. There he goes. Kansas on top, 20-0.
And Wendy, Kansas may be one of the reasons we saw the sluggish first half out of South Florida, as they could have been looking ahead a bit to that big matchup they have next Friday night. Grothy now, and Grothy has it complete to Dontavia Bogan. So Grothy starting to find his groove here.
You mentioned that Kansas game for coming up next Friday for South Florida. When you look at what they have, their schedule, they get by tonight, and if they beat Kansas, they will be favored in every game the rest of the way until they get to West Virginia, which means they could get to 8, 9, 10-0 and rise into the top 10.
Based on what we saw at West Virginia today, they may be favored when they play West Virginia. We'll talk about that schedule in just a moment. 2nd and 6 now. Grothy, they were able to pick up the pressure, so he slings it downfield. A flag comes in. Joe Burnett had coverage on A.J. Love.
Oh, my.
A couple markers on the field.
Oh, my.
Central Florida with the penalties tonight.
Oh, my. I don't know about that one. I think Joe Burnett has a good argument about this one.
By the way, Rod, the flag came in.
There's a foul by each team on the play. Pass interference. Defense. Ineligible downfield. Number 9 was covered up. Offense. These fouls offset. 2nd down.
Yeah, the second one is the flag that came in because that rained in from the whole other side of the field. But John McDade and the Big East officials are having themselves a busy night.
Watch this. Now watch this play here. They are both, he's barely touching. The ball is overthrown out of bounds. They're both heading out there. I don't see how you can call this a play. I don't get that at all. That is a bad pass interference call. He has a right to go for the football, and the ball is overthrown out of bounds anyway.
Now Blanchard joins Grothy in the backfield. Grothy slings it downfield again, and once again intended for A.J. Love, and once again overthrown with coverage from Joe Burnett. So let's talk about the South Florida schedule, because we told you maybe just a little bit looking ahead to Kansas there next week. That's a real big game, but then after that, they get into NC State, who's down, and then the meat of that Big East, and the Big East, it is what it is, before they go up against West Virginia.
Those check marks, Cincinnati could be tough, but they'll be favored. West Virginia, that's the tough one. They have a chance to get to 8, 9, 10-0, and last year they got as high as number 2 in the country.
But can they get past their in-state rivals here tonight? 3rd down. That is hauled in, aired up, and brought down by Torres Johnson. Just raindropped it right in there. 38-yard pickup.
I tell you, Grothy is putting on a clinic about throwing the deep ball. Look at this one. He has been on the money on, what, 5, 6 of those deep balls today? And that just fell in there so nicely. He's had time to deliver it, and he's given his receivers a chance to make a play on the deep ball.
Torres Johnson, who the coaches say has the best big play potential, having himself a big night. And how much more can they really ask of this Central Florida defense? Grothy calls a timeout here. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series going to head to Richmond. One last shot to make it to the chase for many drivers. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Chevy Rock and Roll 400 at Richmond, Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN. Torres Johnson over 100 yards from Cape Coral, Florida. You know what they rave about Torres Johnson? They asked the coaches, well, you know, what does he bring physically to the game? They said he has the strongest arm on the team. The wide receiver can throw the ball 75 yards. We just talked about Dante Culpepper. Yeah. Remember, Culpepper was famous for being able to be on his knees and chuck the ball all the way down the field?
Yeah.
Well, Torres Johnson puts it up 75 yards.
I bet that at some point during this season, there will be a reverse pass, and he will be able to throw the ball and show off that arm.
You know, if he throws a 75, I want to see it. Brophy, this time to one of his favorite targets, Cedric Hill. 27 yards into the end zone.
That's what makes him so dangerous. Brophy, you can take away the running game, and he can still come back and throw the ball effectively against you, and he's done it big time tonight.
Second touchdown reception of the night for Hill. The margin widens. The upset hopes of Central Florida and the arm of Matt Grothe.
Well, there he is as he came across in motion. That's Hill, and he gets lost on this wheel route. He just goes outside. He's covered by 57 Lawrence Young, and he bites on the little nod to the outside and doesn't go deep enough with him and winds up chasing him. And that's not good enough when you've got a tight end like Hill who really could play as a wide receiver.
Hill does it all. Plays a little wide receiver, little tight end, little H-back. They love having him on the team because he allows them to not have to substitute as much.
Exactly.
Not have to change up their packages because he's so versatile.
And when you match him up with a linebacker like he was in that last play against Lawrence Young, that's a mismatch.
Well, remember what Joe Burnett was able to do when South Florida scored first to go up 7-zip. He went 91 yards for a score. They could use a little excitement out of Burnett again. Justin Tichy will be kicking off. A little breathing room for the 17th ranked team in the country. Burnett. They're able to snag a leg and then take him down at the 29.
Well, we started the night looking at the quarterbacks, one who's very experienced on the left and one who's inexperienced on the right. Grothe, 269 yards passing, most of them deep balls. And look at Greco on the right side, the guy making his second start, only 82 yards passing. And that's been a big problem for the Central Florida offense. They really haven't had a playmaker over there that can make a big play and get them back in the ballgame.
Offensive coordinator Tim Salem said he doesn't have the luxury, Greco doesn't, of playing good one play and bad the next. They need a good, strong, consistent effort out of him. Put it up between defenders that time for Rocky Ross, and he was unable to haul it down. Nate Allen was covering well.
Well, part of the problem with the Central Florida offense is that they're missing two key guys on the outside. A.J. Guyton and Kamir Aiken, wide receivers, youngsters from last season, got experience, played well, and our deep threats, they're both out with injuries. And so they're playing younger guys, and they're just not getting it done down the field.
Of course, younger guys in the backfield for Coach George O'Leary, his 5th season here at Central Florida. He's 0-3 against South Florida, and he really wants this series to continue, but it will not pass this year. South Florida is going to start scheduling Miami and take on that challenge as Ronnie Weaver has been taking on the challenge of that front 7 of South Florida. Tyrone McKenzie able to stop him yet again. So a 3rd and long for Michael Greco.
Very difficult spot for Greco here. They'll get some pressure. Selby will be coming hard. They'll have to make sure that they plan for him.
They double team Selby, and then Greco able to get past the rush up the middle. Now he's going to pass again. And a penalty marker comes down as Ross had no shot at that long ball.
There is a flag on the field, though.
There have been 11 penalties tonight, 8 of them against Central Florida.
was uncatchable. Therefore, there's no foul for offensive pass interference.
Let's take a look at what Mr. Selvey's been dealing with. That was the third down play. His specialty is getting to the quarterback. Right now, he's picked up by a tight end, and then when he comes inside, there's a back waiting for him. So he's double teamed, but he never gives up. He is still fighting to make something happen, and that double team allowed more pressure from the inside with one-on-one blocking there.
Patrick Richardson back deep for this punt, and Richardson decides to field it and is taken down immediately at the 22 by Darren Baldwin. 52-yard punt. Glad you're with us here in Orlando. South Florida, number 17, and with an opportunity to really shine in the Big East this year. I'm Joe Tessitore alongside Rod Gilmore. Early on, it was special teams and defense of Central Florida that was stunning everybody, making this a 10-10 game at the half. But little by little, Matt Grothe in the offense getting into gear, finding their groove, and now with a 2-touchdown margin. Central Florida defense has played fairly well, but can they stay with it time after time here? Grothe unable to find room on the right side. Rod, I ask you this. With South Florida saying this is the end of the series, it's a real statement moment for where these two teams are as programs in the state of Florida and in terms of the potential for recruiting down the road, because they're in the same living rooms, Rod.
Well, and both of those guys recruited Grothe, the quarterback, and he goes to South Florida. And Jim Leavitt's made it clear he wants to play the big boys. He wants to play Florida, Florida State, Miami. He does not want to be part of this rivalry. He wants to move on. That's not the case with O'Leary. He wants to play these guys, but this is the last game. A little bit of bad blood about that.
Well, 15 more minutes left in the rivalry. It's been hard-hitting, good action throughout. Can Central Florida find a way? Bulls 24-10. All-American defensive end George Selvey for South Florida, shutting down Central Florida here in this second half. But he doesn't have a sack or a tackle for a loss tonight, but that's okay. He's being double-teamed and it's creating opportunities for others. And now the Bulls offense back out on the field for 2nd and 9. Grothe is looking for the screen. It goes incomplete. Here's a Sports Center right now with Wendy Nix.
Joe, time for a Sports Center right now update. Mother Nature wreaking havoc in Richmond, so the Chevrolet Rock and Roll 400 coming up tomorrow on ESPN in a nationwide race. Moved to Sunday at 7. You can see that right here on ESPN2. And Roger Federer advances to the finals of the U.S. Open. He will face Rafael Nadal. Joe, back to you.
That is turning into one of the great rivalries of this generation, with Rafa and Federer going in the Open, and Central Florida was hoping that this series would turn into a great rivalry, but it's the last dance. 3rd down. Grothe does it again with that fancy footwork. So South Florida gets a fresh set of downs after the 11-yard run by Matt Grothe.
Well, they contained him in the first half, but they have no chance here in the second half. Once again, he steps up. Look at him find all the room to the right side. Nothing over here. He's got plenty of room to do what he wants to do.
See the numbers there. A couple of touchdown passes went to Cedric Hill. 27 yards on the ground. It's getting better as the game goes on. And that is Mo Plancher, who opened up the game with a 15-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, they kept Grothe in the pocket early in the second half, and he made him pay for it with his arm. I mean, look at the touch that he puts on this ball. I mean, this deep ball is well thrown. He's thrown to 7 different receivers. And look at this touch here. He drops this one into Hill perfectly. And all that started opening up the running game a little bit. Grothe scrambling a little bit now. They have to respect his ability to throw the ball down the field.
He's tossed a touchdown pass in 23 of 28 career games. Play action. And that ball is simply thrown out of bounds.
So the challenge for the Central Florida defense is they have to find a way to create a short field for their offense. I mean, for 3 quarters now, we've seen that their offense cannot drive the ball the length of the field and get a score. So the defense has to create a short field so that the offense can only have to deal with 20, 30, 40 yards to get a score.
Hey, listen, this defense gave up 64 last year in this game. This offense needs to meet them halfway, right?
One would think.
Grothy, 3rd and 8. Here's it up out of bounds again.
Now that's one of the better decisions by Grothy. Last year he had a tendency to force the football and made turnovers that way. Now he's matured as a junior quarterback, his 3rd year as a starter, recognizing he doesn't have to force it at times, and he's thrown the ball away 2 consecutive times his team's ahead. Good job.
He was quick to point that out when we asked him, hey, what are you really trying to accomplish this year? And he said, I cannot force the ball. So smarter play and maybe more consistent play, but nonetheless the Central Florida defense holds, and here is Joe Burnett, and it's a fair catch at the 30. 49-yard punt from Alvarado. The flag is down. Before kickoff today, Central Florida took time to remember Eric Plancher. Plancher died last March after taking part in conditioning workouts here on campus, and his initials EP are painted on the field this season. As you can see the decal on the helmets, Plancher's cousin Mo is a running back for South Florida, and last month the parents of Eric Plancher filed notice that they intend to bring a wrongful death lawsuit against the school. Central Florida has said that Plancher was treated properly, and we were told Eric's family is not attending tonight's game. And Rad, I know you lost a teammate during your playing days at Stanford, and it can have quite an effect, obviously, on the team.
Yeah, we certainly send our condolences to the Plancher family, but there's no way to predict what the reaction, the impact will be on a football team that loses a player.
Latavius Murray is bottled up. Trailing by a couple of scores are the Knights, and they need to find something offensively.
In our case, my case, our team went in the tank after the death of a teammate, and I know that listening to Mike Bellotti talk about his Oregon team and their loss of Todd Doxey over the summer, a defensive back who drowned on a summer rafting trip with his teammates. And he was unsure of what the impact would be on his team and said there's no way to predict it, and we have no idea what the impact has been on the Central Florida team.
Challenging off-season for the Knights. And this is set up for Weaver, but it was blown up by Tyrone McKenzie. So that'll bring up a 3rd down and 10 for Michael Greco. It's in a really tough spot here in this second half.
Yeah, very challenging. They just don't have the ability, you know, with the injuries outside to a couple of receivers for them, Aiken and Guyton. They don't have the ability to make a guy miss and pick up a 1st down easily. That's hurting them.
3 receivers to the top. Line to make is a 25. Puts plenty on it. And a little too much for Rocky Ross.
You see the difference between Grothy. Grothy puts the ball up in the air and gives his receiver a chance to run underneath it. That was a little bit too much strong arm by Michael Greco on a line. If he puts the ball up and lets his receiver run to it, throw him to the spot, let him go get it, you make a touchdown out of that play.
Blake Klingon from his goal line to punt. Patrick Richardson back deep for South Florida. And he takes the fair catch, and then, I mean, what is this? Theme night? Is it flag night? They just can't help themselves. Reggie Weems, and he's been flagged earlier tonight as well.
And this one is so egregious. It's a full 2 or 3 steps, and it's after the whistle. They just can't control themselves. I mean, it's, again, you've got a defenseless player standing there, and he just takes a shot at him. O'Leary he's livid about it. I don't blame him. This is ridiculous.
And it's his 2nd tonight.
After the fair catch was made, personal foul late hit on the kicking team. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Ron, what do you do if you're the coaching staff and you go into practice back at the drawing board Monday? You got to get after these guys.
Well,
right?
well, you teach them that this is not being aggressive. This is being cheap. Aggressive is playing hard, whistle to the echo of the whistle. Not a full 2-3 steps afterwards, taking a shot at a defenseless guy.
George O'Leary is fired up. How will his team respond? Trailing 24-10.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Nissan, passionate about performance and proud sponsor of the Heisman Trophy. And Aflac, ask about it at work.
Central Florida has never beaten their cross-state rival, South Florida. And they're going to need something special in order to change that. As the Bulls back to offense here, Grothy on a design quarterback run, looking for space, and gets it to the 41. Well, let's talk about the overall picture in the Big East, because it is a mess, and South Florida can really elevate themselves and make themselves the standalone depending on how things. Connecticut yet to play anybody yet. They barely got by Temple today, although a solid, consistent football team there. West Virginia loses to East Carolina. You know about the rest of the Big East. We saw Louisville up close last week. Syracuse, Pitt disappointed last week. South Florida can beat the team, Ron.
I think so. And remember, they get Kansas next week. And a win there, they are rising up the rankings.
Grothy. He was corralled that time by Lawrence Young. Kansas is going to be a big one next week for South Florida. Then the meat of the Big East schedule, and then they wrap things up with West Virginia.
Let's just play what if for a moment. So let's say they win tonight and they beat Kansas next week. You're looking at a 4-0 South Florida team that was number 2 last year, right? So they got some votes last year. So people will start looking at them, and as other teams fall off, pretty soon they start climbing 14, 13, 12. I think they could be a top 10 team in about a month.
Undoubtedly, if they can get past Kansas, that'll be key. Right now, the key is to stay on the field and convert this third down for Grothy. Flags come in.
False start. Number 78 offense. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
Let's check in with Wendy Nix.
Joe, we check in on Alabama. Remember their follow-up to their Week 1 win over Clemson, hosting Tulane. Mark Ingram rips off a 16-yard touchdown run. That made it 20-3. Tulane has tacked on a field goal. Joe?
Thanks, Wendy. So the tide is rolling in the early goings of this season. From a tradition-rich program to the new kids on the block here. South Florida, Grothy. Dumps it off. And able to get it to Jamar Taylor. Ball comes loose. Offensive lineman jumps on it, but it'll bring up a fourth down.
But it's recovered by number 65.
Ryan Schmidt looks banged up there. He's the starting left tackle from Boca Raton.
You just wonder, how will Central Florida manage to score? I really believe they need a short field. Something big. They need a block punt. They need a defensive play. Something to shorten the field, or maybe just that man taking another one back into South Florida territory as he took one all the way back on the kickoff.
No, it's good thinking by linebacker Corey Hogue there. He had the right idea to strip that ball because they need that kind of a play right now. Joe Burnett has done it before. Can he do it again? Oh, it takes a good bounce. South Florida trying to keep it out of the end zone, but unable to.
Ball rolls into the end zone. So it'll be first down to
So we will come back to Orlando. Central Florida trailing by 2 scores against the Bulls. 17th ranked South Florida up 24-10. What was that stat you busted out earlier tonight you wanted to see?
Well, I'd like to say it was mine, but I stole it from Tim Salem, the offensive coordinator at Central Florida. He found that in their research, if you get a first down on 75% of your drives, you will be a winning team. They looked at Ohio State, USC, everybody, and they found that that held true.
Here is the freshman Brandon Davis, unable to gain any ground. Samson Genus in on the play. Well, there it is. Drives with at least one first down.
And tonight, you see Central Florida only 40% of the time, so that's not good. South Florida, over 90%. Is that about 90%?
It's about 89%.
89%, yeah, close enough. Okay, so that's higher than 75%. So
much higher.
They're winning. So the stat holds true.
You know, that stat's interesting. You say, oh, you only want one first down. What's that? Well, you know, it becomes a field position game.
Yeah, and it says that you're not
first
going.
down, you're moving.
Yeah, you're not going 3 and out. Also, your defense is, you know, getting off the field.
Greco on 2nd and 10. He's flush. Has some open room. Look at this. Greco, a lot of green in front of him. And out across midfield for Central Florida. Finally taken down by Jerome Murphy, but a 32-yard gainer for Michael Greco.
And this is the first time we've seen Greco able to really use his legs. This thing opens up to him on the right side. He takes one look downfield for a receiver, sees nothing, and says, the heck with this. And because of the man-to-man coverage down the field, he has a long way to run before he gets attacked. Look at the man-to-man coverage down the bottom right side. He's got plenty of time to run to the outside where there's no one in zone coverage.
Greco sprints to the near side. Now coming back. That's big George Selby, who just got blocked right in the back. And that's going to bring out a penalty flag. They had a target on the small of the back of the All-American there.
Yeah, look at block in the back. Number 78 off. 10-yard penalty.
And that was Pat Brown. It wasn't even close. You know, you can't do that. You got to be able to get your head in front. Now just watch him here. He's probably tired of chasing Selby because Selby never stops. And he just gets him from behind, just knocks him down.
That is a long night for Patrick Brown. And all season long, you're going to see left tackles and tight ends and running backs trying to chip and everybody getting after George Selby. He is a phenomenal prospect here, a preseason All-American.
Don't make the mistake of thinking he did not have an impact tonight because he didn't have a sack. He's had a huge impact.
Oh, he's taken on 2 and 3 guys at a clip. So a 1st and 20, and here's the screen to Ronnie Weaver. And that goes absolutely nowhere as Terrell McClain made the tackle. Get your weekly dose of NFL news and analysis this Sunday. First 11 Eastern, Boomer hosts Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM. Then at 7 Eastern, Chris Berman, John Saunders, they're going to deliver the day's highlights and scores on SportsCenter at Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM and SportsCenter this Sunday on ESPN. Quick Super Bowl prediction, Rod Gilmore.
Oh, come on.
Bring it.
Come on.
Come on. Oh. Season starting tomorrow.
Patriots, which one? I don't know. Against the Cowboys. One of those.
How about on the record?
Okay.
Greco. That is complete. And coming back for it was Rocky Ross. Tyler Roberts had the coverage there. A 10-yard pickup.
First time we've had a little rhythm out of this offense. 31-yard run by Greco. You see the total yards there, barely eclipsing the total penalty yards.
Is that a nightmare for a head coach when your total offense finally eclipses your penalty yards with 7 minutes to go in the fourth?
You're +9. You're +9 on offense over penalty yards.
I think they're going to have a talking to about all the yellow hankies we've been seeing here tonight. Greco now on 3rd and 9. And that inside pass to Ross is not going to get it done on 3rd and 9.
Well, if you're thinking, why don't you go for it? Well, their offense hasn't been strong enough to make you feel comfortable. They can pick up 8 yards here. You're better off trying to pin them down and letting your defense get a stop or get a turnover and create a short field. If you can do that, you still have a chance with 6.5 minutes.
Richardson back deep for the Bulls, going to let it bounce, and they do indeed pin them with bad field position. Wendy Nix, what can you offer up?
Well, Joe, while you guys are handling things very effectively, I might add, in Orlando, we want to remind you that over on ESPN, Miami at number 5, Florida, the Gators with a 9-3 advantage. Miami's won the last 6, but a tough road ahead in this one. Joe?
How about those young Canes and that defense of Miami holding down Percy Harvin and Tim Tebow
Yeah, I wonder if Jesse Palmer is getting a little uncomfortable sitting in that chair watching those Gators struggle with Miami.
There have been a lot of uncomfortable moments early in this college football season for many of the power programs. How about Ohio State earlier today? Against Ohio, having a rough go of it. Brophy just weaving through that Central Florida defense for 17 yards. Sharif Rashad and Chance Henderson finally able to take him down. But when he gets going, he is like a running back against that defense.
Well, he really is. He gives them that extra dimension because when he runs with the ball, now you have 10 guys who can block. 10 on 11, which is much better than having 9 block on 11.
Matt Brophy was taking control of this game in the second half.
Inside, number 39,
Richard Kelly with the carry that time as South Florida starting to spread the wealth. We're here at Bright House Network Stadium as the number 17 team in the land, South Florida, had a rough go of it in the first half as Central Florida came out with lots of emotion. I'm Joe Tessitore alongside Rod Gilmore. It was 10-all at the half thanks to a 91-yard kickoff return by Central Florida's Joe Burnett, but Brophy connected with Cedric Hill twice, and now they're looking to close the door on what has been a short but heated rivalry. 4 games here against the cross-state rivals. Kelly once again twisting, turning, fighting, close to a first down.
You know, Matt Brophy took over in the third quarter with his arm, just kind of throwing USF into the lead. Great deep passes, and Central Florida killing themselves all night long with penalties, personal fouls, late hits, all those types of things which really hurt them. That third quarter, Matt Brophy, he played as well as I've seen him play in his 3 years as a starting quarterback for South Florida.
Third and 1 now. Out of the gun. Man in motion is Torres Johnson. Trying to get close to that first down yardage is Richard Kelly. Chance Henderson in on the tackle.
You know, you mentioned that Ohio State score of that game, and we were talking earlier. The thing that surprised us about that game, Ohio State couldn't run the football when they wanted to.
I know Beanie Wells was out, and he's getting set to come back healthy against the Trojans, but obviously they have talent in their offensive backfield, and that line is what it is. Did that become a little bit of a look-ahead thing, a little bit of a mental thing? Hey, we don't have Beanie.
Yeah, more than likely. You know, I think the drop passes were disappointing for Ohio State fans. You can correct that. Bad snap, which led to a touchdown, you can correct that. But the fact that you couldn't run the football when you wanted to, that's the scary thing that Ohio State fans will think about this week as they get ready for USC.
Richard Kelly did indeed get the first down for the Bulls. George O'Leary, he has watched his defense perform as well as they can, with the exception of some untimely penalties and some poor decisions and controlling emotions. He knew the offense would need to find itself a bit without Kevin Smith, who's off to be an NFL starter. But once Conference USA comes around, Central Florida surely will compete. Although East Carolina looks like a potential big-time BCS buster this year. Back to the line of scrimmage is Kelly, Chance Henderson. So Matt Brophy, well-known quarterback now in Big East play, but how about back in the day in Lakeland, Florida, at age 7, started off in youth football with a Jaguars jersey on before making his way to Lake Gibson High School. Now, you know, Matt Brophy and George Selvey, they're going to be well known in Florida for many years to come as the guys who put this Bulls team on the map when South Florida was taking the big lead and going way up the ladder. These are them, and that is intercepted here. Bruce Miller, the sophomore from Georgia, who had 7 sacks in a breakout year a year ago, and now comes up with this play here deep in the fourth quarter.
Well, they got pressure by Salvo, comes in, and he just delivers a blow. It's not Salvo, it's actually Young. Salvo took away the blocker so that Lawrence Young could come free, And what a tremendous interception by Bruce Miller. Kind of bats it to himself. But the pressure and the big hit on Grothe set it up. Now they have the short field.
Rod Gilmore, I got to give you a lot of credit because you just said about 5 minutes ago, you know, you sit there and you ask, why would they punt? Shouldn't they go for it? Better off on defense, Central Florida, than they are on offense. You said, you know, your defense is more capable of giving you a short field and advancing the ball. That's exactly what they did. Now let's see what the offense can do with it. Here's Greco. He's going to air it out. He wants all of it. And just off the fingertips of Brian Waters. Coverage from Nate Allen.
They had him out there. He waited a little long to deliver the ball. Waters was open for a long time, and he threw this ball to the inside. Now, if that ball is thrown to the corner, that's an easy touchdown. He'd be throwing it away from the safety, but he threw it towards the center of the field. That allowed the safety to get over and at least make a bit of a play. That's Nate Allen who came in to make the play.
Greco this time pressured and in effect his throw over to Ronnie Weaver. Let's check in with Wendy Nix.
All right, Joe, Florida State finally playing their season opener, hosting Western Carolina. Christian Ponder won the quarterback job, gets it to Burt Reed, and this is going to put the score right now 28-0 at the half. A lot of weather delays, but they are finally at the half. Now, Colt McCoy and the Texas Longhorns getting ready to face the University of Texas El Paso. That's coming up right here on ESPN2 after you're done.
One of the most anticipated games in El Paso in a long, long time. 3rd and 10 for Greco. And that is good for a first down to Brian Waters.
They need to be in the hurry up. Here they go. They get to the line of scrimmage. They have time. They have plenty of time. They can get a touchdown. There's time for an onside kick. There might even be time to play defense and get the ball back.
See if they can come up with a little magic here. Under 3 minutes to go for Greco. Down the field. Flag comes in. That was intended for Ross. It was batted around before falling to the ground. Wendy was just talking about Florida State and the quarterback situation there. Let's get this flag. That's going to go against the Bulls.
Personal foul. That's one of the few we've seen called on them tonight.
Personal foul, number 98 defense. Contact to the helmet. Penalties half the distance to the goal line.
Now, speaking of Florida State, Joe Weatherford is the backup quarterback to Michael Greco. There he is. He's the brother of Drew Weatherford, who just lost out on that competition for the starting job at Florida State to Christian Ponder. Talented redshirt freshman. Probably see him down the road for these Central Florida Knights. For now, though, it's Michael Greco's team to run. And he has an opportunity here. As you said, not much offense all night long, but here in the final moments of this final quarter, a chance for a score and see what they can come up with. Greco, plenty of time. To his big tight end and into the end zone, Corey Ramazinski. And that awakes this crowd here.
He's just in an up-back position to the left side of your screen and just runs a little bit of a delay route over the middle. He allows the linebackers to fly out of there, and he's found easily by Michael Greco.
The extra point is good, so we have a one-score game here in Orlando.
17.
And now, one more look. He's to the left of your screen. He's right here. He's just going to come a little circle route outside and dip inside. He allows the linebackers to move. See him circle around there. Perfectly thrown ball. Easy touchdown.
Well, let's talk strategy here, Rod. We got 2:46 left on the clock. You have a Central Florida defense who has played as well as you can expect them to play against that very solid and strong South Florida Bulls offense. How do you play this?
I kick it. You want to know why? I kick it because I don't think they are fast enough at Central Florida to recover an onside kick unless they get lucky. I would prefer to kick it and let my defense play and use timeout. If they do an onside kick here, I just don't think they are speedy enough to get it done with their guys here. Could be wrong, but I would prefer them to kick now and put the pressure on Grothe and company.
Well, they do not have their speed returners in the game. Instead, it is Jerome Murphy, as we're playing crunched up at the line of scrimmage, anticipating potentially a short kick.
South Florida.
And South Florida wants to take a timeout and make sure that everybody is on the same page. They're playing the 17th ranked team in the country, are the Knights. They have never beaten a ranked opponent. Now last year, a year ago, they made it close against Texas opening up this stadium. And they went on to have a sensational season in conference play, taking the title. But this is the one they want.
Yeah, and this one is close too. Now keep in mind this. I believe that you want to extend the game. If you do an onside kick here and you don't get it, the game is over. If you kick off, you still have a shot to get the ball back. You have a shot to make a play or something. But right now, you do the onside kick and you don't get it, your offense can't go 80 yards on this defense. They haven't proven that all night long.
And now they do send in Torres Johnson, the deep man, to return for South Florida. Nick Catoy to kick for the Knights. 2:46 to go. And they do indeed kick it deep. And here's Johnson from his 5. And they got after it. So now the time has come for the showdown that we've seen all night long. The skill set of Grothe against the emotion and the inspired play of the Central Florida defense.
Well, Central Florida has 2 timeouts. They have a shot to get the ball back.
Mo Plancher set deep on first down. Nothing doing. In fact, he lost a couple of yards. Timeout here. 2:34. Dave Huxtable, the defensive coordinator. He's looking for a stop. Monday Night Football, of course, returns to ESPN this week. Special doubleheader. First at 7 Eastern. Vikings, Packers. The Aaron Rodgers era begins at Lambeau. Then at 10:15, Broncos and Raiders. Monday Night Football double dip beginning at 7 Eastern.
And Tess, let's keep in mind the play clock here. 2:34. The clock will stop if a player goes out of bounds. And will run once they come back and mark the ball. If it's under 2 minutes, then the clock will stop as it has in the past. And now you're on the 25-second clock because there is an administrative timeout, not a 45-second clock here.
Big Richard Kelly in the backfield on 2nd and 11. Grothe looking to pass. He just had to throw it away. This Central Florida defense is rising up.
Well, keep in mind also, that stops the clock. That is as good as a timeout. That incomplete pass, I mean, that is a gift for O'Leary.
Keep hope alive, says George O'Leary. Look at this.
I mean, I'm of the belief that you make the other team burn their timeouts. You make them get rid of them. That is a gift to Central Florida.
This is the defensive play of the game so far. 3rd and 11. Knights need a stop. And they get it. It worked out perfectly, the plan did, to kick deep, put that inspired defense on the field.
That is poor clock management by South Florida. You get the ball back with 2:40 and you run 18 seconds off, that is not good clock management. You need to run the football, burn their timeouts and get that clock down as far as you can.
We have seen some mighty upsets so far in this young college football season. And right now, Central Florida is still alive to pull one off that would be on that list. And that is Joe Burnett back deep. He is first team all-conference as a punt returner and had a 91-yard return for a touchdown on a kickoff earlier tonight.
And George O'Leary has done it right. He didn't do the onside kick. He kicked off. That was the right thing to do. They've used their timeouts appropriately. They're getting the ball back. They're going to have a shorter field. Great coaching by that staff. They did it right in the last 2 minutes.
Gilbert Alvarado to punt. He's standing at his own 7. Burnett is so dangerous. Here he goes. Joe Burnett. Can he get free? A 34-yard return by Joe Burnett. And Central Florida is knocking on the door.
He is a patient return man. Watch him set up blocks. The hesitation move right there, a little spin. The patience he has sets up everything on his returns. He is so good at it. Now they have the short field. They've got plenty of time.
Plenty of time for Michael Greco. Can he grow up right in front of our eyes? Trying to get past the All-American Selby to the corner. And out of bounds. To the 31-yard line. Carlton Williams forced them out. 2 minutes to go in the game.
And the clock should run once they spot the ball. It's not under 2 minutes. And that's why O'Leary is telling him to hurry up. The clock is starting to run. They've spotted it.
Just by a second. If it was 1:59. 2nd and 6 now. Could it be a thrilling finish in Orlando? Greco, he has time. He has his man. Rocky Ross. Wow! Can you believe that? Florida has come back. They need this to tie. Couture. Got it good. Tie ball game. Minute 40 to go.
And he made the throw of the night for Central Florida. Stands in the pocket, strong and tall, finds his man coming back to him. That's Ross. And then the effort to get into the end zone. This is just a nice kind of a comeback route. Watch him work his way back to the quarterback. He loses the defender. And what a great effort to get into the end zone. And when he had to have protection in the pocket, Michael Greco got it.
This Central Florida offense hadn't done a thing all night long. They relied on special teams and defense. But when they had to do something, they did.
You talked about Greco growing up in front of our eyes. That last drive, you saw it. He made the run to get out of bounds and picked up yardage. Then he made that tremendous throw to allow his receiver, Rocky Ross, to be in position to get into the end zone. But don't forget, the defense got the ball back, and poor clock management by South Florida allowed Central Florida to get it back with plenty of time and lots of confidence in a short field.
Tavia Bowden. And Bowden able to get it to the 26-yard line, taken down by Jordan Richards. Michael Greco. 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 2 touchdowns in the final half of this fourth quarter.
What did Tim Salem, the offensive coordinator, tell us yesterday? Hey, he'll look great on one play, and then, you want to hide your face on the next play. Well, there was no hiding on that series. I mean, he was as good as you can be in a 2-minute drill situation.
The Big East already had West Virginia go down in flames earlier today. Now South Florida in a tie ball game against their in-state rivals. Grothe, plenty of time. And Grothe is able to complete that. And a good, solid gainer. And Alcine with a 17-yard pickup. So a first down for South Florida.
I was surprised to see that Central Florida did not put any pressure on that time, and O'Leary was not happy about it. He went right over to his defensive coordinator and said, bring it, bring some pressure.
5 receivers, empty backfield for Grothe. Over the middle, that is incomplete. Cedric Hill has had himself a fine night with 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, but couldn't hang on there.
A little help from Jason Vincent. The free safety showed up to put the exclamation mark on that play. A nice little hit to make sure that that ball was not going to be caught. As watch the end of the play, you see him coming right into your screen in the middle. There is Vincent. A little pop at the end there to make sure the ball comes out.
Grothe getting free, tries to turn the corner, and he's out of bounds at the 48-yard line, a pickup of 5.
Once again, Central Florida lost containment. They're trying to make sure that they keep Grothe in the middle of the field, keep them in the pocket. I think there's a little bit of fatigue out there with those defensive linemen.
They've done it before. Can they do it again? Central Florida defense looking for a stop against Grothe and the Bulls. Not able to get it. Patrick Richardson picks up the first down.
Plenty of time. South Florida still has a timeout. They've got more than a minute. They're in their hurry-up offense.
Just over a minute to go. Flag is down. That goes incomplete. Cedric Hill, the intended target again for Grothe, and you can see how upset he is. Lawrence Young was covering Cedric Hill.
Legal shift on the offense. All 11 players didn't get second. 5-yard penalty. First down.
He's going to push him back a bit. Delbert Alvarado, his career long is 56 yards.
They need a little bit more for him to have a shot, but for Central Florida, if you're thinking about defensively, what do? They are a little bit afraid to bring more than 4 guys because of the speed of the outside receivers. They don't want to get caught one-on-one.
Well, first and 15 after the penalty. Grothe now flushed out of the pocket and is able to complete it to the 41-yard line to Cedric Hill.
Right now, if they had to line up and kick it from here, that'd be about a 58-yarder, just a little bit beyond Alvarado's range. Now, was this a good catch? Yes.
Under a minute to go. What a thrilling way to say goodbye to this short-lived series. The last year these two teams will play. Central Florida felt snubbed when South Florida said, we're going elsewhere. We don't want to continue the series. We're going to put Miami on the slate. George O'Leary knows what this would mean to his program. They're going to review this last play here to see if there was a control issue here.
Well, he looks like he's definitely in bounds here. Does he have it? Did he trap it against the ground? I thought that he had that ball on his shoulder pad when he went to the ground, and that the ground did not trap it for him.
Another angle.
Yeah, from that angle, I can't tell.
Be a better look, but watch the top of the ball and see if he had secured it already, or if the ball touching the ground was the reason why it was secured by Cedric Hill.
Now remember, you have to have indisputable evidence to overturn the call on the field. Now that looks like he's got a hand underneath the
right
football.
hand was underneath, Rod. Absolutely.
I I don't think there's enough there to overturn that. That hand is underneath the ball, between the ball and the ground, so that should be a catch.
Every yard becomes crucial now as they're getting closer to Alvarado.
Play on the field stands as called.
So the play stands. They're getting closer to Alvarado's career-long range. Right now, the ball's at the 41. Yeah, his career-long would come with the ball at the 39. 2nd and 7. Brophy. He is able to complete that to the 35 to Patrick Richardson, a pickup of 6. So now within the range of Alvarado.
Well, and a 3rd down. They are just short of the 1st down here, and they still have a timeout. So no problem here for South Florida to try to pick up this 1st down. They still have a timeout to use. Might as well run the football here, pick it up.
3rd and 1. And that's what they do with Plancher, and Plancher is tied up, and he looks to be short of that mark. Good play by Corey Hove.
Oh, now you have to make a decision if you're Coach Leavitt. Now you're looking at
a 52-yarder. Jim Leavitt, 35 seconds to go.
Now, if you're Leavitt, what are you thinking here? You want to take the risk of that long field goal, or go ahead and run the ball, try to pick up the 1st down. If you have confidence that your kicker can make a 52-yarder and no risk of it getting blocked, then you kick the game winner. If you have any doubts at all, you play 4th down and go to pick up the 1st down here.
Let me just offer this up when it comes to the kicking game. Joe Burnett had a blocked field goal earlier with his speed. Wendy, we got a thriller here in Orlando. What do you have?
Joe, indeed you do, and thriller or not, though, the show must go on in El Paso. Number 10, Texas at UTEP. UTEP has the ball. This game has kicked off. It is underway, and of course, we'll get you right out to Texas just as soon as we get a winner in Orlando. Joe?
Looking forward to seeing that from El Paso. In the meantime, can South Florida maintain their status? And they're looking over that last play. Horns off the Bulls there.
Looks like he's going to go for it. And he does not want the risk of trying a 52-yarder and a block here. He doesn't feel confident that they can make that. And if he's not confident, that's the right call. 35 seconds left in the ball game. If they get the 1st down, the clock will stop. You can down it.
The referees actually there were clearing up the clock issue. And they want to make sure they have everything squared away as they're explaining things to Coach O'Leary. So they look back at the last play to see the stoppage, and let's see and hear from John McDade.
Well, they haven't taken the timeout off the board for South Florida.
With the game clock operator, please put the game clock at 46 seconds.
They're going to put time back on the clock. So they went back, looked at the last play. And now they reset it to 46 seconds. Here's 52 seconds when they snapped here.
So he's down there. They call the timeout.
That's the correct call. 4th and 1. That mark should give them the 1st down.
I tell you, he did not get it on the initial effort. It was the second effort that got him the 1st down.
They're going to measure this. And indeed they have it. 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, it might have been the push from Plancher that gets it for him. Look at Plancher come in and drive the pile, drive Grothy ahead for the 1st down. Remember that famous Reggie Bush push of Matt Leinart in that Notre Dame USC game a few years ago?
Grothy to pass. Half a minute to go in this game. And into the end zone, incomplete, so he takes a go of it to A.J. Love, but Speedy Joe Burnett was covering.
And they
South
took
Florida with that timeout remaining.
And South Florida fans will remember that was a very similar play to what they used against Auburn last year to win in the waning moments of that game, taking a shot at the end zone, coming up with a big touchdown catch to win that one. They went for it all there.
They are within the career long of Alvarado, but still, it's a bomb of a field goal from here. They want a little more. Grothy has time. Over the middle is complete, and that'll help the cause plenty as Torres Johnson with a clutch grab and a 14-yard gain. And now they will reset the ball. And the clock will get going, and Grothy will stop it. High drama in Orlando.
Well, here he is over here. Watch him go to the inside, and they have good protection waiting for him to clear, and crossing routes work very well against man-to-man coverage because you're chasing a guy across the field, and that's hard to do.
An improbable ending to this game. A game that a year ago went South Florida's way 64-12. And then they were milking and cruising a 24-10 lead into the fourth quarter when all of a sudden Central Florida came alive and tied up this ball game with 2 late touchdown passes. And now here comes Alvarado.
He's gonna move this back 5 yards.
On the offense.
A delay of game.
Second down.
That'll back it up from a 37-yard attempt to a 42-yard attempt to try to put them up.
You know, I think that was intentional. There was no sense of urgency by South Florida. I think Alvarado preferred having it back a little bit instead of that extreme angle.
From 42 yards to take the lead with 15 seconds to go. No good. Disbelief from Bulls fans and jubilation for those in black and gold as Bright House Network Stadium is going to send this series off with a classic one here.
Can you believe this? Last year, 64-12, South Florida embarrassed Central Florida. Now, 11 seconds to go, we're all tied up at 24. What a difference a year makes.
And Central Florida is going to take a knee and send this to overtime. How about George O'Leary in a game that has had roller coaster ups and downs in an offseason that has been so challenging. Now this OT when we return. Want to refresh your memory of the overtime rules. Each team going to be given a series starting at the opponent's 25. Back and forth you go. Match or make. And if the score is tied after 2 periods, you then must attempt a 2-point conversion. Of course, the basic strategy here, Rod.
Yeah, you want to go on defense first. You want to do that so that you know what the offense has done and you know whether you need a field goal or a touchdown to win. So it's like in baseball, you want to be the home team and have the last at bat, the last shot to win.
Joe Tessitore and Rod Gilmore with you in Orlando, where Jim Leavitt, head coach of South Florida, came into this season ranked 17th in the country here this week against Central Florida, with all the momentum of the program, saying we don't need George O'Leary's team on the schedule in the future. This is going to be it. 4 games and done. Wasn't competitive last year. We have big aspirations, big dreams. We're going to put Miami on the slate. Well, the folks with the Knights, they want to let them know they may have miscalculated here tonight.
Central Florida has won the toss and elected to go on defense first. South Florida will have the ball first in this end zone.
All right, so you got Central Florida on defense first. Now, remember back in the first half, big play. This game would have been so different if this play had not been called back by a penalty. John Neal picked this ball off. There's a slight push in the back that's called as a penalty, and this touchdown, this pick 6, is nullified. One of the big penalties that occurred in this ball game, and boy, has Central Florida had more than their share of penalties.
There have been 11 penalties against Central Florida for 144 yards. We have seen George O'Leary just livid on the sidelines at times with some of the mental mistakes and the charges of emotion shown by his team. But in this fourth quarter, things settled in. The offense got going. And Greco was able to connect with a couple of touchdown passes to close the gap from 24-10 to 24-all. And there are the Yellow Hankies and the detriment to Central Florida we've seen.
And not just Central Florida. Remember, West Virginia lost today also to East Carolina. The reputation of the Big East is hanging in the balance tonight.
That is Kelly. Bottled up right at the line of scrimmage by Chance Henderson.
Matt Grothe is a gambler. He is not afraid to take a shot at the end zone. And we've seen him tonight. He's thrown the deep ball very well. If there's any chance of any single coverage anywhere on the field, he will find it and take a shot at it.
Grothe is extraordinarily talented. Great runner. Strong arm. Gutsy player, and now 5 receivers here with lots of time. Look at this. He's going deep for it. And he hung it up there. It was intended for Bogan.
And watch John L. Neal, 31, the left corner out there, get back into this play. He comes over to help his teammate, Darren Baldwin, number 21. Grothe wants to take the shot here, and that's just great help.
Facing a 3rd and 10 here in overtime. To the end zone. And that is good for the touchdown, and it's Taurus Johnson. 25-yard strike from Grothe. You said it. He will take the chance, and he's had success with the deep ball. They strike first here in OT.
Oh, this is all about getting the free safety to bite, and he does on this, and that opens up things. 45, Jason Vincent bit on the pump fake, and that allowed Johnson to get behind him.
Alvarado able to add the extra point. And now Central Florida forced to answer with 7.
Now let's go back to this play. Now watch the free safety right here. That is Jason Vincent. Now watch what happens to him. He's supposed to be in the deep 3rd. He bites on the pump fake right there, and that allows Johnson to get behind him. He can't help in the middle. He wanted to have him deep. He bit on the pump fake, and it cost them 7 points.
now it's the Knights' turn.
A great pump fake by Matt Brophy to draw Vincent up.
Can Michael Greco keep that fourth quarter momentum going? Weaver to the 21. Jerome Murphy came up with the tackle. Of course, last year, the game that put South Florida on the map was also in week 2 in overtime. And that came against a mighty big name foe.
Yeah, Auburn. They were underdogs playing at Auburn and came up with a big win.
Second and 6 now. Weaver looking for room. And Weaver's going to be about 1.5 yards short of a first down. Tyrone McKenzie with the tackle. So a different approach here. We saw the overtime first series with South Florida as they were looking to strike right away.
Yep.
And now playing 10 yards at a time for Coach O'Leary.
That's as much for his defense as his offense, and some confidence there. The defense, get him on the sideline, let him figure out how to stop those deep passes, correct that. Grind it out a little bit now. This is the kind of style they have.
Weaver on 3rd and 1 is the long back. He gets the call again. And it looks like he may be short. Terrell McClain.
They ran the same play 3 straight times. That little power off the right side where you pull the guard from the left side around to lead to the right side of the tackle.
So it's time to talk about it.
Well, you got to go. I mean, you have no choice. You got a fourth down.
Fourth down.
Question is, are you going to run it, or are you going to use something where your quarterback can use his feet?
Let's check in with Mark Jones in El Paso. Mark Jones and Bob Davey looking forward to seeing the remainder of Texas and UTEP. But right now the game is on the line. 4th and 1 in overtime for Central Florida. Movement in the backfield. It was Ronnie Weaver.
Full start. Number 35 off. 5-yard penalty. Fourth down.
He was anticipating where he wanted to go, and it just got to him.
Remember, he's a young player, redshirt freshman, only his 2nd start, and he took 2 steps. He was not aware of the snap count or forgot it, and that's going to cost him.
So they go from 4th and 1 to 4th and 6. Completely different beast. Comes down to this now.
That'll be Greco.
He's going to run it himself. He needs to make the line.
It's all about where they spot it. If he's touching the line, it's a first down.
This is a critical mark of the ball. It is all on this mark by the official.
Well, you know, you start overtime at the 25. That's mandated.
So it's the white line.
It's the white line. If it's touching the line at all, it's a first down. If it's not, then he's not there.
This will determine the game.
Now they can review the spot. Did they get a bad spot?
O'Leary, the headsets come off. Take a look. Look at that ball. You tell me, where would you mark that? Would you mark that touching the white line or not? It determines the game.
Now that's a good call. His knee was down, and then he completely went down over the line, but he was short of the line initially.
You could see that in the replay. The knee was down before the ball had reached the mark. What a way to end this series, and what a comeback by Central Florida. Our final score, the Bulls take it 31-24 in overtime. Up next, Texas UTEP. For Rod Gilmore and our entire crew, I'm Joe Tessitore. Now, let's take it to El Paso for number 10 Texas and UTEP.